Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Tuesday, May 19th, 2026 meeting of the Plymouth Selectboard. Pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open meeting of this board after first notifying the chair and subject to the reasonable requirements of the chair so as not to interfere with the conduct of the meeting. At the beginning of each meeting, the chair shall inform attendees of any such recordings. At this time, I'm aware that the local scene is recording. I'm also aware that Mr. Mand, when he is in the room, will be making a recording as well. Is there anyone else who plans to make a video or audio recording? Still photography is fine. Hearing and seeing none, I'll move on. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency and signed into law on March 28, 2025, this meeting will be conducted via remote means and in person. Members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so by tuning into the local scene, local government access cable, Comcast Channel 9, or Verizon 47. You may also watch the meeting on the local scene's website or the YouTube platform. Members of the public who wish to participate may do so by coming to the Great Hall here at Town Hall on the second floor of 26 Court Street in Plymouth, or clicking the Zoom link to participate remotely. The link is published on our agenda and on our website. Please join the board in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to start by congratulating my two colleagues, Mr. Quintal and Mr. Canty, on their re-election this weekend. Welcome back to the board. Let's give them a round of applause, please. And I'd like to recognize Town Clerk Kelly McElrath to administer the oath of office.
Congratulations, gentlemen. Do you want to come and stand in front of the podium? Dais, whatever it's called. Are you okay doing it together, or do you want to do it separately? Okay. Yep. We got to get both of you in the pictures. All right. If you can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear and affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me as a member of the Select Board for the town of Plymouth, according to the best of my abilities and understanding, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution, the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and the charter and the bylaws of the town of Plymouth. So help me God. Congratulations.
If either would like to say a few words, Mr. Quintal.
I want to take a minute and thank everybody in the town who voted and who helped me. It's been a rough week for me. And I really appreciate the kindness and the love that this community has, because it's full of it. I can't say enough with the cards, the people stopping by, and everybody in this building today that I came in contact with shared their condolences and congratulations. And I take it right to my heart. I love everybody. And thank you.
Mr. Canty.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I really appreciate the community. I grew up in Plymouth, as people heard me say along the campaign trail. Grew up in West Plymouth. I live in North Plymouth now. And Plymouth means a lot to me. And the outpouring of support that I received during the course of this campaign, the people that stood by me through it and came out to help, whether they were on the campaign team, whether they held a sign, whether they talked to their neighbors, hand wrote postcards, it all made a huge difference. And I could really feel the support throughout the community, and it meant the world to me. So I wouldn't be here today without the work of many people beyond just me. But whatever your contribution, whether it was big or small, whether it was one day or throughout the course of the campaign, I want to really thank you. And I also want to say that I look forward to, over the next 3 years, being able to continue to try and make this town that I care so much about a better place to live for all generations, more affordable, with smart and balanced economic development, and a more responsive government that takes into account the needs of the community that it represents. Thank you very much.
Well, congratulations to you both. The next item on our agenda is Select Board reorganization. I'll open things up for nominations for chair. But before I do, I want to just say that this election cycle was taxing, I think, on a lot of citizens. And the last year on this board has been really challenging, I think, for a lot of folks to both watch and be a part of. I think that we need someone in this chair who can bridge the divides that have happened over the last 12 months. I think we need someone who can create some healing for our community and really work with everyone on this board and everyone in the community. Because of that, I'm going to offer a nomination. I think there's no one better to do this than Ms. Deb Iaquinto. So I will nominate Ms. Iaquinto for chair. Ms. Iaquinto, do you accept?
I do, and thank you, David.
Second?
All right. Is there another nomination? Mr. Cohan?
I'd like to nominate Kevin Canty.
Mr. Canty, do you accept the nomination?
I appreciate the thought, but I think that in the circumstances that we're in, that the best course forward would be if we could unify behind Ms. Iaquinto. I think that she brings a fresh perspective and has been able to work with different folks in the community over the course of her tenure, which is only a year in so far. But I have always believed strongly in Deb Iaquinto and look forward to seeing what she can do. So I will not accept the nomination for chair.
Thank you, Mr. Canty. Is there any other nomination? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the roll. Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Congratulations to our new chairperson.
Before I ask for nominations for vice president, I just want to thank my colleagues for the trust that you've shown in me to help bring us all together and continue to do wonderful things for the town of Plymouth. I'm convinced that we have all the skills, the experience, and the knowledge we need to do that. So let's just get to work. And now I will open it up for nominations for vice president. Vice president, sorry, vice chair. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think that in the spirit of unifying, I think that we should put our support behind a single candidate as well. I've worked with Dick Quintal for 2 years now, and for the last 9 months as my vice chairman. Dicky brings a tremendous amount of institutional knowledge. He's been a member of this board on and off for over 2 decades. He's one of the most generous people in this town, and so I'm happy to nominate him, and I hope my fellow board members will support him.
Do I have a second?
Technically, you don't need a second.
I will second that.
Sorry. This is going to be a little bit of a learning curve. I'm sorry. I know. I'm still, okay. All right, then I'll call for the vote. Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
No.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
And myself, yes. It carries. Okay, let us move on. We have 2 public hearings on the agenda. Our first public hearing is for a new seasonal wine and malt general on premises license from Triton Beverage Group LLC, DBA doing business as Pine Hills Beer and Wine Gardens. So I will read that into minutes. The board will make a motion to approve the new seasonal wine and malt general on a premises license from Triton Beverage Group LLC, doing business as Pine Hills Beer and Wine Garden, 6 Village Green South, Michael J. McNamara, manager. In accordance with Chapter 138 of the Massachusetts General Laws as amended, notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held at the Plymouth Town Hall, 26 Court Street on Tuesday, May 19th, 2026 at 6:00 p.m. to consider the application for a new seasonal wine and malt general on premises license from Triton Beverage Group LLC, doing business as Pine Hills Beer and Wine Garden, 6 Village Green South, Michael J. McNamara, manager. Description of the premises is as follows. Outdoor beer garden is roughly 0.5 acres. It's bordered by Village Green North, Village Green South, and Meeting Way. Serving area includes 2 shipping containers, one measuring approximately 120 square feet and the other measuring approximately 36 square feet, located in the north corner of the parcel with 2 entrances and exits. Anyone wishing to be heard on this matter should plan to attend this meeting. Do we have anyone here who wishes to speak on this? Oh, okay. So I now declare the hearing open. Sorry.
Thank you.
Could you please state your name?
Sure, Mike McNamara. And congratulations, everyone, this evening, and thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight.
So do you wish to speak on behalf of your application?
Sure. Basically, again, Mike McNamara. I am the owner of the Mayflower Brewing Company now. We purchased the brewery on Halloween, on the 31st of October. We would like to basically re-implement the beer garden over at Pine Hills with the ability to have a family-centric, multi-generational, fun experience for people to just be able to come just to hang around and have a nice time with their families and friends. Really nothing different in terms of what was done previously, with the exception of it would just be a different type of license. Previously, it was a farmer brew license. We're not brewing any brewing or anything on site, so it would just be the ability for us to be able to serve our products.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone online, Jade? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone online? Okay, questions from the board? Okay, hearing and seeing none, I'll call for a vote.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
unless my colleagues have any further questions, I will make the motion that the new seasonal wine and malt general on-premise license be approved for Triton Beverage Group LLC, doing business as Pine Hills Beer and Wine Garden, 6 Village Green South, Michael McNamara, manager.
okay, Mr. Golden makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? Nope, hearing and seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
See you this summer. Take care.
Okay. All right, now our second public hearing is what is it? The Shack on the Wharf Corporation doing business as the Shanty. In accordance with Chapter 138 of Massachusetts General Laws as amended, notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held at the Plymouth Town Hall, 26 Court Street on Tuesday, May 19th, 2026 at 6:01 p.m. to consider the application for an alteration of premises from Shack on the Wharf Corporation doing business as the Shanty, holder of an all-alcohol restaurant license at 16 Town Wharf. Paul Tuppa is the manager. Description of the premises is as follows. Completed demolition and rebuild of existing structure, one floor with main room with a central bar and inside seating. There are 2 bathrooms and a kitchen storage area. There will be an outside deck for seasonal seating. Inside area is 1,000 square feet and the exterior deck is 975 square feet. Anyone wishing to be heard on this matter should plan to attend this meeting. I now declare that the public hearing is open. Do we have anyone to speak in favor of the application?
Good evening. Attorney Stephen Trifletti for Shack on the Wharf Corporation, doing business as the Shanty. And I would first like to just also join others in congratulating Mr. Quintal, Mr. Canty for your reelection, and also congratulate Madam Chair and the Vice Chair for your election. I'm here on behalf of the Shanty, which is at 6 Town Wharf. And tonight, we have a request to change of manager for liquor license purposes from Paul Tupa, who is here in the room today, to Catherine Weaver, who is also here today. She works as the general manager for the Shanty now. And also, we're here for alteration of premises. The prior building that was there, for many of us that know it, was completely demolished, and there's a brand-new structure that's been constructed in its place. And the major change that you will see there is the addition of an outside deck, which will be used for seasonal seating. There is no increase in the inside seating or the capacity. And also Peter Lucido, who's one of the principals, along with Mr. Tupa, here to answer any other questions you might have, as well as Catherine Weaver.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on behalf of the application? Anyone online, Jade? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application? And is there anyone online? Okay, questions from the board? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Mr. Quintal makes the motion, Mr. Golden seconds. Discussion? Nope. Hearing and seeing none, I'll take the vote. Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Motion, it passes.
Thank you on behalf of my client. Thank you.
We have a number of licenses. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move them as listed.
Okay,
Second?
okay.
Yeah, just, I'd like to separate Eversource utility petition.
We have a source utility petition. Okay, do I have another motion to take the first 2 licenses and separate the Eversource utility petition? Mr. Cohan amends the motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay, take the vote on that. Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
And Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Okay, so we'll separate that one out, and let's take the first 2 as a group. Do I have any questions, discussion? Do I have a motion?
Motion to move them as listed.
Okay, Mr. Quintel makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
Mr. Golden seconds. Discussion? No? Okay, we'll take the vote. Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Okay. Okay, Mr. Cohen, you wanted to separate out the Eversource utility petition. It's all yours.
I guess just a quick question. I thought I saw Mr. Coyne, the DPW director here in the room, but maybe someone can explain to me. I'm curious, when roads are paved and then they're dug up and then they're filled, I know there was once a policy of a duration of time when you can dig that road. I just noticed neighborhood streets, they get dug up for water lines and different things, and one thing leads to another, and then we have a kind of a bumpy side road. So I'm just asking from the department how you pursue that. Obviously, they're opening up a line here to suppress a line, power line to a house on the water, so obviously that's a good thing. It's just one less wire coming down in a storm. But I'm just curious about the street itself. I think it's Winter Street. There was a lot of work done to that street recently. And there was once a policy of the timing of when we build a street out and then where we might dig it up. So it'd be nice to hear what the policy is.
Okay. For the record, James Downey, Assistant DPW Director. Thank you for the question. So through DPW, if the road does get repaved, we typically look to put like a 5-year moratorium on the road, where if it's not for emergency or major reason, we try to hold off. And if they're not able to hold off, then there's a chart that we follow. Sometimes they have to pay an extra fee for that cut, or they're required to repair it more extensively. So we do have to take each case by case. So there are some exceptions, but generally speaking, there is about a 5-year moratorium that we try not to cut into the road if possible.
So it's a 5-year moratorium, but you take it on a case-by-case basis and prioritize it and then bring the repair up to the standard of the road at the time of its cut.
That's correct. Or there also sometimes is a prorated additional fee that they have to pay.
Okay, all right, just wanted to make note of it. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
I'll make a motion that we approve license Eversource utility pole.
Second?
Okay. Mr. Cohen makes the motion. Mr. Golden seconds. Discussion? Okay, I'll take the vote. Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Passes. Okay, next we have our administrative notes. Pleasure of the board.
I'd like to separate number 8, 10, 11, and 12.
8, 10, and 11, and 12. Okay, do I have a motion to move items 1 through 7?
Point of order. I think 12 was removed from the agenda. Is that correct? Yeah, the town manager was saying yes.
So that's what I was, okay, so I withdraw the 12 because number administrative, I think it's Hedges Pond Road, that is being removed, number 12. I just wanted to take the time to note that, but I still would like to separate 8, 10, and 11.
8, 10, and 11? Do you want to, and not 9?
Sorry, 8, 10, and 11.
That's it, 8, 10, and 11.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's what I said, yeah.
8, 10, and 11.
I'll
So,
make a motion to move 1 through 7, 9.
okay, do I have a second?
Second?
Mr. Quintel makes the motion. Mr. Golden seconds. Discussion? Okay, I'll take the vote. Mr. Cohen?
On number 8, I just wanted to take.
No,
the
no,
ti-
we're voting on the
Okay,
motion to.
yes.
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 Mr. Canty
Yes.
and Mr. Golden?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Okay, I feel like I didn't do that right, but,
You got that.
okay. Okay, so let's talk about items 8, 10, and 11. Mr. Cohen?
Okay, I just wanted to separate 8. I just wanted to point out that the Great Herring Pond Watershed Association is making a contribution of $1,000 to help for scholarships for the half-day camp at Hedges Pond. Plymouth has a half-day camp at Hedges Pond, which is very successful, and the rec department does a great job down there during the summer months. And it's nice to see that there are organizations in the area that are contributing to this scholarship fund to help campers afford that. So I remember when rec programs were all free, but that doesn't happen anymore. But I do wanted to note their financial contribution as an organization in that neighborhood to Hedges Pond Recreational Area in the day camp. And the other thing I just wanted to make note of on number 10 is that there's a request for the town manager to be signing all of the paperwork associated with a recent park renovation as it complies to the regulations on the condition of cleanup, because there were materials that were found to be disagreeable contaminants. But I still want to, you can sign those documents, but I would like to still see them and know that this process, what they're asking of the town. I feel as a select board member, I should know about any signatures representing the town as it relates to the cleanup of these materials at a playground. So I comply with the efficiency of having a town manager sign on our behalf, but I'd still like to get a notice that this has been requested and this is what I've done relevant to this signature for this cleanup of these materials at this park.
Yeah, we're happy to do that. We can send those send those along electronically.
Okay, that would be very helpful. And then number 11, I see here that we have the sustainable purchasing policy. I see that we're going to be changing the language of that policy, and I just wanted to note there was something there, if I flip to it, changing the actual language to the sustainable purchasing policy of the town. And we were removing in purpose, one, it was to buy, it says buy recycled products, and the buy the recycled products policy, that was struck. I understand where on section 2, we're striking some language, and we're replacing it with language that's a little bit more descriptive about giving people guidelines in different departments when it comes to ordering these materials, giving them more guidance and following. But I just thought that was nice. It said purpose. Limiting that sentence, I felt like took the kind of the kick out of the policy. What is the policy? The policy is to incentivize different departments to try to find recycled materials and buy them on behalf of the town. So that little sentence on top, right under purpose, I'm looking at James. I don't know, you're looking at it. Is this something you could speak to? I kind of liked that sentence, and I was wondering why it was struck.
Yeah, so James Downey, Assistant DPW Director. So you're talking about, from the old policy, the first sentence under purpose, which was buy recycled. Right. Sure. Yeah. Right.
I'm sorry about the microphone. Sorry about the microphone. I just thought it might be helpful to give guidance to the person who picks up the policy.
Gotcha. So we tried to incorporate the intent of the original policy and expand upon it based on feedback we had from Mass DEP and the Recycling Dividend Program grant opportunities.
Right.
And their recommendation was to make these changes. So that's kind of why we did it, in order to be in compliance with their grant opportunities.
So if we left that sentence in, it would be we wouldn't be compliant, and we might lose grants.
I don't believe we would. I
right.
think maybe that wasn't, there may be a way of working that back in.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could do that.
I just wanted to make note of it. I thought it was something that would be helpful. So I will, approve it as presented by James, as James can get some clarification. I'm happy with how James wants to handle it. I just wanted to note that sentence. And then I think was there one more, number, no, that's it. That was policy number, that was administrative note number 11. So I'm comfortable with 8, 10, and 11. I'll make a motion to approve 8, 10, and 11
Okay.
under the administrative notes.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Cohen makes a motion, Mr. Golden seconds, discussion? Okay, I'll take the vote. Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
And myself, yes. All right. We are moving on to public comment, and we've had a request for Mr. Galliani to come to speak first.
Thank you.
And you have 3 minutes.
3 minutes. I'll do my best. I'm Michael Gallerani. I head up the Edward W. Santos Community Service Award and Garden, and I'm here representing that organization this evening. During the past several weeks, I've been reminded of a time in Plymouth's political culture that is best not repeated. The contentious environment, the smears against opponents, and the lack of respect and civility were reminiscent of the late 1990s. During that time, town hall professionals were disrespected. Some were subject to a hostile work environment. Who will ever forget? There is no hit list, but don't worry, you're not on it. Some were encouraged to move on, and while others were just dismissed. That led to a 25-year time in Plymouth's history that I have started to call Plymouth Lost. The revolving door of town managers followed, and right now you have probably the best one since Bill Griffin. Planning became reacting. Vision and creativity was diminished. The town no longer focused on commercial and industrial growth and started settling for it's the law, overbuilt, dense residential development. I believe that not one of you wants a repeat of that era. You may not always agree with one another, but from where I sit, that's a good thing. I believe you all know I spent my career in public service. A large part was here in my hometown, the place I love. Another part of my life, I worked as chief of staff for FEMA during recovery operations. I was called Uncle Mike by federal coordinating officers because I often had to sit down to help people find a better way. I am now retired, but devote a good amount of my time to the Edward W. Santos Community Service Award and Garden Organization. I am able to focus on how to better encourage people to give of their time, expertise, knowledge, and resources through community service. The problem is that people get discouraged. They do not want to be a target for negativity or be ignored. We need good people, people to serve in professional positions, leadership roles, service on boards, committees, and commissions, to coach, teach, mentor, and guide, build special places, and be all that makes our communities better. This is Plymouth, Mass. What happened here was the beginning of one of the greatest experiments in the history of the world. People pay attention to this place. So here's your Uncle Mike talk. Tonight I'm here to respectfully request you, the Select Board and the Town of Plymouth, join forces with our organization to change the conversation and ultimately the culture that surrounds public and community service. Let's build on 4 pillars: civility, kindness, service to others, and respect. It is really that simple. Please accept, you all should have a shirt. I'll hold mine up to show off. Please accept these shirts. Please buy into the message and commit to doing what is right. Please focus on attracting the right people to serve and hold on to those that are doing a good job. Treat one another with respect, not just on any given Tuesday evening, but every day. Investors should see and want to experience what makes this town special. It should be a place that people want to be part of. Let's work together to train staff and volunteers to be the best they can be. Let's message that their service is valued. Let's celebrate the good things. Let's make Plymouth better. And I welcome the opportunity to work with the board, with Derek, to figure out what that should look and feel like. And let's create that program where service is valued beyond belief. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did I stay my 3 minutes?
Thank you. No, you went over a little bit, but I
Oh,
couldn't stop
Thank you
you.
for that. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else for public comment? Mr. Cirque?
Rich Cirque, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 2. I want to talk briefly about the Symes House. The Symes House is assessed for $1,710,500. This board has apparently agreed to sell it to the Manomet Bird Observatory for only $40,000, which is 2% of its assessed value. Now, by law, any town that wishes to sell real estate must have a professional appraisal done and invite the submission of proposals. The appraisal determines the fair market value of the property subject to existing restrictions that run with the land. These restrictions can be released if the Select Board, the Massachusetts Secretary of Environmental Affairs, the Massachusetts Historical Commission, and the Massachusetts Secretary of Housing and Living Communities consent. So my questions are the following. 1, was the property professionally appraised? And if so, when and by whom? What was the appraised value subject to the existing conditions? What was the appraised value if those conditions were released? Was the property adequately advertised? If so, when and by what means? This is important because the Bird Observatory may decide to sell the property after acquiring it, in which case the gain will belong to the observatory and not to the town. We all know that this property comes with a long history of what proved to be poor business decisions. There's no point in wasting time trying to find out who's to blame. But a sale of the property for just 2% of its assessed value would amount to throwing away good money after bad. This will require town meeting approval, and I can't imagine that 2/3 of town meeting members will vote to approve this sale.
Thank you, Mr. Cirque. Anyone else like to speak at public comment? Catherine?
Thank you. My name is Catherine Harrelson. I'm with a nonprofit organization called Community Land and Water Coalition, a nonprofit Plymouth-based organization dedicated to protecting, preserving, and stewarding the land and water resources of southeastern Massachusetts. I'm here tonight to talk about the 2 parcels of land located off of Hedges Pond Road, currently owned by Landers. There are 2 parcels of land off of Hedges Pond Road, currently owned by an entity named PA Landers, that are currently in Chapter 61A status, agricultural tax exemption. Mr. Landers has been approached by a developer to put housing on these 2 parcels, which will pull the parcels out of Chapter 61A. This gives the town the right of first refusal on these properties, which they have because of the tax exemption status. There is broad community support for conservation of these parcels. These parcels have multiple conservation values, including beautiful wooded uplands. They're part of an extraordinarily large area of conserved land, abutting Wildlands Trust conserved property and 30 acres of town-owned open space. These parcels provide natural aquifer protection, and part of a Zone 2 wellhead protection area for one of the town's public water supplies is on these parcels. There's also biomap core habitat, and these parcels are located close proximity to priority habitat for rare species and biomap critical natural landscape. Preserving these parcels will help the town achieve its open space priorities, comply with its comprehensive plan, and reach its climate resiliency goals. However, there's been a lack of transparency over these two parcels. All of the negotiations around these parcels between the developer, the landowner, the lawyers, et cetera, has taken place behind closed doors. There's been conversations that the select board has had that the public has not been privy to, even though there's interest. Why is the town dragging its feet on exercising its right of first refusal on Chapter 61A for these parcels? We may never know. But there seems to be a sense that the conservation of these parcels and the purchasing of these parcels by the town may not be a good fit for multiple reasons. The developer who wants to buy these parcels has multiple business interests within this town and is politically connected within this town. Also, there are concerns broadly across the town of financial reasons, and there's a very tight timeline for what the town has to go through in order to purchase and conserve these parcels. This may be sort of some of the conflicts surrounding the town's exercising its right of first refusal in regard to these parcels. We want this process brought out into the light. We're here to offer an alternative. Community Land and Water Coalition has submitted a letter to the town on Monday, May 19th, suggesting or asking that the town assign the right of first refusal to Community Land and Water Coalition. We're an eligible 501c3 nonprofit who's dedicated to protecting, preserving, and stewarding the land and water resources of southeastern Massachusetts. The Chapter 61A laws allow the assignment of right of first refusal. We're here to say we're ready to do it. We're ready to go. Community Land and Water Coalition has a broad volunteer base, and we have the capacity to put together a broad coalition of supporters, including land trusts, conservation organizations,
Ms. Harrelson,
volunteers.
You've used your 3 minutes. Do you need another minute?
1 minute,
Give you
please.
another minute, yeah.
And volunteer members who would like to support this effort, and we're ready to go. We're going to be hosting an open public forum on this topic in 2 to 3 weeks when we get the space, and we'll announce it to the entire community. That way, the community can come together, voice their opinions, and come up with a strategy for these parcels. We have copies of the letter here that Community Land and Water Coalition submitted to the town. We also have 2 letters of support, one from the Native Land Conservancy and one from Sacred Earth Land Conservancy, of which I'm a board member, supporting the assignment of right of first refusal to Community Land and Water Coalition. All ideas should be on the table. Please consider our request, and if anyone has any questions, please contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harrelson. Oop. You okay? Okay. Anyone else wish to speak? Yes, sir.
I ran the Plymouth Half Marathon faster than that. James DuPont, 118 Elm Street East for the minutes. I served 18 years on the Bridgewater-Rainham School Committee and 2 terms as a town selectman. Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the Select Board. I come tonight to deliver a message regarding a matter of grave and immediate importance to the town of Plymouth, its elected officials, and its residents. The issue is twofold. First, it concerns the decades-long underfunding by the Massachusetts State Legislature of the various categories of so-called local aid, which, as all of you know, is a significant factor in setting the tax rate of the local property tax, and hence how much the property taxpayers are asked by you to pay. Prior to fiscal year 81, the first year in which Proposition 2.5 was in effect, the cities and towns simply put another nickel on the local tax rate to make up for any shortfall in local aid. After Prop 2.5 took effect, the cities and towns were limited in how much they could raise the prior year's levy. Consequently, local services, mostly education, were annually pared back due to the annual recurring shortfalls. But life at the local level went on. This brings me to my second point. Where does so-called state revenue come from? Madam Chairman, it comes from every resident and business in every city and town in the Commonwealth, including Plymouth. Why isn't that money being returned to the people like the five of you for things, day-to-day things like police, fire, seniors, and most of all, schools? It's been my experience that our state legislators have not made full funding of local aid a priority. Members of the majority party bemoan how tough things are this year on Beacon Hill. We're already hearing that from them and the governor. And the members of the minority party shrug their shoulders and say, isn't anything I can do about it? Last year, my town's annual budget process, I was recently reelected to the Bridgewater-Rainham School Committee. Last year, my town's annual budget process resulted in a failure to pay the regional schools district annual assessment. After a failed Prop 2.5 override, a large layoff of school employees then followed. 41. Next year, there was 31. A resident I discussed this with said, it sounds like bad management. You've all been candidates. You hear that when you go out. When I responded that it wasn't bad management, but rather a shortfall caused by our state legislators not fully funding Chapter 70. I've been checking it every year since 1973. It has never been fully funded. His response to me was, it sounds like our local government mismanaged their relationships with our state legislators. Madam Chairman, this leads me to the conclusion that the time has come for all local elected officials to demand their respective state legislators change the way local aid is calculated from the current, here's what's left, to here's what you're entitled to as a matter of law. As long as our state representatives and state senators can get lauded for getting us half a loaf, then the residents and the businesses will be told to make up the difference. And you, the five of you, will bear the brunt of the public's ire for something that you did not cause.
You've used
If
your
the state has a
Excuse me,
shortfall,
sir.
let them raise taxes or do massive layoff to accommodate that shortfall in state funds. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I will leave a copy of my remarks for the minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to speak in public comment? Nope. Jade, is there anyone online? Nope. Okay, thank you. All right, the first item on our agenda proper is a July 4th Plymouth update from Mr. Tavares.
All right, good evening. It's great to see you all. Happy 4th of July. It's 45 days away. The July 4th committee would like to first say congratulations to the new, or not new, but re-elected 2 members of the select board, and congratulations to you, Ms. Iaquinto, for the chairmanship. So you'll be hearing from me now instead of some of these other people. So we wanted to come before you, myself, Matt Tavares, Jeff Metcalf, and Anne Marie Winchester from the July 4th committee, to just kind of give you an update as I had spoken about what we were going to do earlier in the year. And since we're 45 days out, we figured this was probably the best time to do the first update, and we'll probably come before you one more time as we get a little bit closer. We're currently, and thanks to Mr. Brindisi on WATD this morning, I heard him talking about the 4th of July and encouraging people to donate. We greatly appreciate that. As you know, our goal was $175,000 this year. We've raised to date $147,825. And, I'd like to thank Mr. Quintal for spearheading the motion through to be put in front of the town meeting body, and I thank the town meeting body for approving the one-time funding. There's no delusion or illusion in front of this committee that that's going to be something we can expect every year, but I can tell you that it greatly helped, and I thank the citizens of Plymouth and the town meeting members that voted in favor of it. That being said, we still need $27,175 more. We have seen a great increase, and hopefully even us coming before you this evening, in individual donations. We have completely outpaced where we were last year at the end of, call it the fundraising up until July 3rd. We've had 90 individuals within the community of 60 to 70,000 donate this year, and we've got 26 businesses that have been sponsors this year. So we're very thankful to those. We do also recognize, as I'm sure some of you have seen the Independent article, a lot of our businesses, they're getting to Memorial Day this upcoming weekend, and then everybody kind of shifts their focus to the next big event, which is the 4th of July. So we hope to see us bridge that gap. And as a committee, we're definitely very optimistic that we'll be able to bridge that gap. But I'll come back to you. I know or in the winter months when it was colder and we were shoveling snow, I said I'd need to know by June 15th. And I still stand by that to make sure that we get there. But I think we're hopefully optimistic. But that being said, we're still 27,000 short. So every $5, every $10 that we get through our Venmo, which is July, the number 4 Plymouth, or through checks to our P.O. box, or online at July, the number 4 Plymouth.com, every little bit helps, from $1 to whatever you could spend. I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about some of the things throughout the day, but we do have some changes with the parade this year that we need to bring to the public's attention. And obviously, as people sign up to be in the parade, they get this information emailed out and packaged out. But being in front of you allows us that time to also get it out onto a television audience that we can that we may not reach otherwise. So I appreciate that. We have about 30-something groups choosing to participate in the parade so far. And anyone out there, any neighborhood groups or local organizations that want to be in the parade, you register online at our July4Plymouth.com website. That registration does close, though, on June 18th, because then we got to get everybody into order. But I would say with the 30-something, almost 40 registrants that we have, that's about where we typically are at this point. Again, even with people participating, that usually starts to show up post-Memorial Day. It gets to be fast and furious. So we're looking forward to a great day. As you know, has been tradition for well over 20 years, the Old Colony Club at 7 a.m. will be at the top of Coles Hill. They'll fire their cannon 3 times, representing the past, present, and future. They'll do a reading of the Mayflower Compact and of the Declaration of Independence, especially seeing how it's the 250th anniversary of our country. And then at 7:30, we'll have the 11th annual Plymouth July 4 5K at 7:30 a.m. And that leaves from the DCR Pilgrim Memorial Park, right where the reviewing stand is for the parade. That's the start and finish line there. And then at 9 a.m., the parade itself will step off from North Plymouth. And this year, due to some construction going on within Cordage Park and some renovations going on there, we're not going to be mustering, if you will, in Cordage Park. We're going to be at the Mayflower Business Park, which is kind of an older location closer to the Kingston line, just a little bit further up Route 3A from Cordage Park. And then at 7:30 p.m., we'll have the Plymouth Philharmonic's concert. And then around dusk, so call it 9:15-ish, we're going to have the fireworks, which if we meet our goal here, this will be the first year that we'll have 3 full barges of fireworks. We've never been able to attain that goal. So we really thank the community and town meeting and the town of Plymouth, PGDC, the Visitor Service Board, for helping us get to that goal. We're really looking forward to lighting up the evening and having a culmination of probably a great day, I'm sure. The weather's going to be perfect. Just before I get into Anne Marie talking about the 5K, also know that there's food trucks in that down near the performance stage. They'll be there all day. So if you're walking along the waterfront or you're taking in some of the sites, feel free to visit those. They'd love to see you. And then I know that they get busy as we get closer to the parade. To the concert and the fireworks as well. We are working on designated handicap spot parking, and we'll have all of those updated on our website. And as far as road closures, those are updated on our website as well as on the Park Plymouth website for the day, so people can get their information there. I think the biggest thing that I just want to put out there is that while we're close, we need some local final push over the top. I know that other businesses, I know Squinny's is running a special for the month of May. On Mondays, everybody buy pizza on Mondays because we'll get a little bit of a piece of the pie, if you will. So thank you very much for that. And then we've had other businesses that have done business challenges where they'll pledge to donate $1,000 and challenge the community within that 1 week time frame to come up with $1,000. So the July 4th nonprofit actually gets $2,000. So we've seen some success with several businesses. So if there's a business out there that would like to do that as well, we'll take you on and see what we can raise and see what we can get to, even if it's for, $100, and see if we can get $100 out of the community. That being said, I think I want to turn it over to Anne Marie to talk about the road race, and then we'll have Jeff kind of talk about the old new lineup area, and then we'd be more than happy to ask or answer any questions.
That's taller than I am. Good evening, everybody. My name's Anne Marie Winchester, and I handle the waterfront on the morning of the road race and the parade. So I also do the social media. So I do encourage you to please follow our Facebook and Instagram pages. We are doing loads of social media over the next several weeks that will give information on how to donate, the QR code so you can just scan right on your computer screen to go right in and donate. It will also be giving information about the parade lineup. It will be thanking our sponsors. It will be giving parade deadlines. All of that information will be out on our social media pages. It is definitely the best place to get the information. Matt was talking about the parking restrictions. All of that information will be on our website. It is copied directly from the Plymouth Police website. So that is another place that you can go to get that parking information. So just quickly, around 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, we'll start loading in trucks, which will include our food trucks, Alden Park, Mom on the Go. Our Ryan Concessions is the food carts. And then we have the True North Concessions who does all of the light up toys. They'll be loading in along with the Philharmonic trucks, setting up staging, setting up all of their chairs. So that happens while we still have room for vehicle traffic. The waterfront, the waterfront roads will close down at 6 a.m. per the Plymouth Police Department. And once that happens, there will only be access for these specific trucks to get into the waterfront. Once the road race participants start to arrive, we limit it to no vehicles. The road race does start at 7:30 a.m. We do put a restriction on that they have to be able to finish in an hour or less because of the parade. We have a crew that will break down all of the road race materials at 8:30 in the morning, get the awards out, and get everything off the road so that we can transition right over to, transition the waterfront right to parade operations at that point. As far as the road race is concerned, we currently have 248 people registered, which is almost 30% higher than where we were at last year at this time. We are expecting that we will surpass the 1,200 people almost that registered last year. The benefit of the road race growing is that that's just more money that goes back to the parade and the fireworks. So all proceeds from the race go to support the parade and fireworks. So that is our donation from the road race standpoint. The route's exactly the same as it has been the last few years. They're just going to go north on Water Street, pick up Court, Robbins Road, and back through Nelson Park and back down to Water Street. So the route does not disrupt any parade operations, and it does not block anybody from moving around on the waterfront either. The other thing is the waterfront itself, after the parade ends, around noontime, the waterfront will actually open back up until they start to close down for the Philharmonic concert, which will be around 6 o'clock. So there will be a period of time that there will be vehicles allowed to go through there so that we're no longer shutting down the entire waterfront for the whole day. And with that, thank you all so much. We appreciate it. We really went into this year not knowing what was going to happen with these huge increases and the extra things that we wanted to do to celebrate the 250th anniversary. So we appreciate all the support from everybody from Town Manager's Office, VSB, Select Board, and the Town of Plymouth. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for listening tonight. My name's Jeff Metcalf. As Matt mentioned, the last 4 years, we have been lining up the parade at Cottage Park. It's been a good run with them all, but this year they do have some construction going on. So prior to the pandemic, we were at the Mayflower Business Park, or the old Stop and Shop location on the edge of both Kingston and Plymouth lines. So what we have on the screen here is a map of the area. And what I want to mention is that if you look at the very top of the map here, that is Route 3A and Court Street. And then down at the bottom here, this is Spooner Street. And so we're suggesting to the general public that you come across Standish Ave to North Spooner Street, and you come into the parking lot here adjacent to the laundromat, which is that little box right there. But as you come in here, the parade is broken up into 3 divisions. And Division 1, obviously being the one to leave first, would be closer to the street at this end of the parking lot. And then Division 2 would be to the right here, and Division 3 is on the left side of the parking lot. There is parking behind, again, this used to be the old Stop and Shop. There is parking back here for the participants. So after leaving here and getting to your divisions, you can park here. But one of the other things that we're attempting to do, and this is a little fluid at the moment. We are having some discussions about how to do this, but as you're coming up the Spooner Street here at Seaview, what we're suggesting to the general public is if you're just dropping off your children to be in the parade and you don't have a float or whatever, if you come up Seaview and you take a right here up North Spooner Street, you can drop your children off right here. This is a green area here, and you can see all the 3 divisions from here. So you can drop off your children, take a right, and then take a right again onto 3A, and you miss all of that traffic that's right here where the parade participants, the floats and the bands and what have you. So it's a way of separating out, so you don't have to sit in the line waiting. So taking Seaview Street, if you're just dropping people off, is I think you'll find an advantage to doing that. The parade kicks off at 9 o'clock, and we have volunteers that are going to help set up the lineup. I want to thank the Plymouth Rotary Club once again for helping to be there at 7 o'clock and trying to line up the parade. It's not an easy thing to do. We're there at 7 o'clock. And it's kind of it's a little chaotic at first because the number 1 division usually doesn't come first. It's usually the last one that comes first and the first one comes last. So it can be kind of crazy trying to get people in here, but it works. We've done it for several years, and it's not only been here but at Cottage. But this year, I want to thank Key Point Partners and to allow us to use the Mayflower Business Park. And as mentioned, I also want to thank you all for your support, the Town of Plymouth support, the town meeting, and the additional funds that they've bestowed on us. And it's a big help. We got a little ways to go yet, but we're hopeful, and we're looking forward to a good day. So thanks for listening.
That's great. Thank you.
I think if I could just add one last thing, I don't want to take up too much more time. I know we've probably gone over whatever I said I needed. And we're going to be communicating, because this is a new plan, we're going to be communicating as people sign up. We're going to have emails that go out. Everything's web-based now. When they register, it's like you were registering for a road race. It's exactly the same thing when you register your organization. So we'll be emailing out, because as Jeff said, we're working with public safety right now. This is, like Jeff said, this is a fluid plan at the moment. We may have other drop-off locations that came out of, we have a security meeting with all the public safety officials. So we're working on that right now, but we'll make sure that we're communicating with as many people as possible and obviously with all the participants. But the biggest thing that I want participants to understand is we had a very huge luxury in Cordage Park where people could actually bring their vehicles in to unload stuff and then build the floats early in the morning. If you pull into that lot thinking that you're going to be able to do that and then get your vehicle back out, it's not going to happen. It gets way too congested in there because it is a smaller space. So we're going to have to really let these people know that want to build their float the morning of, that if you do, everything's got to go in the truck that's pulling that float, because you won't be able to go in and get out just because of the lack of space. If you pull in there, you're parked there for the day. So maybe use the Cricket to get back. I don't know if it goes that far. So, or is it Cricket? Circuit to get back. But that being said, we're very excited. In about another 2 weeks, I'll be looking at the long range forecast, and we'll have that discussion when it needs to happen. So thank you guys very much. We appreciate everything that you've done for us.
Thank you all. Questions from the board? Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks for being here tonight, folks. Appreciate the presentation. It's heartening to know that you're only $27,000 shy of your goal.
Still kind of makes me sick, David.
I have all the faith in the world that you folks are going to get there. I've already started reaching out to some contacts to see if we can get some businesses in town to match some donations, and I will personally be the first to donate as soon as I get that match, although I've already donated.
Thank you very much.
So I know you're going to get there, and I'm going to do everything I can to help you get there.
No, I mean, the fact that you all have spoken about this so frequently, and we did have that robust town meeting, article and discussion. The fact that we have 90 individuals, I mean, that is light years from where we have been the last couple of years. So I really appreciate you allowing us the public time. So thank you.
And anyone watching at home, please donate. July 4th.
I need to put a QR code on a T-shirt.
Yeah, right. July 4, Plymouth.com.
Right.
Mr. Quintel?
Yeah, Matt, I just want to say thank you to you, Anne Marie, and Jeff, and your whole committee.
Yeah.
Because I know you work very hard at this, and I appreciate you doing it and committing the time. And I know you were talking about retiring a couple of years ago. My heart was skipping beats.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you haven't. And, 90 is nice, but on a town of 60,000, let's kick it up, people. Everybody can give a little bit and help these individuals out, and it's for everybody in our town. So we're helping you at work, and
we take donations from Kingston residents and
That's it.
Duxbury
They come
residents.
in,
We
right?
don't
That's
get shy.
Yes. Have somebody at the town line.
That's
Ching,
right.
ching. All right. Thank you, though.
Thank you,
Seriously.
Mr. Quinlan.
All right.
Anyone else? No? I just want to add my thanks too for all the work that you guys are doing. This is just so impressive that you're able to pull this off and just keep doing it year after year after year. You know that we're not going to let you go, Matt. So we get the
On the donations also, I see all of the donations come through the system, and we're getting donations for $5, $10. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's all it is. It's, a few dollars. If somebody has a few extra dollars, of course, we don't want people that aren't going to be able to buy food to be donating to the parade. But if you have an extra $5 or $10 that you can throw in, and, it's greatly appreciated no matter how much, regardless. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it does add up. I just had one quick question. So you still need $27,000. And I know the last time that you were here, you said that you might have to make a choice between parade or fireworks, but maybe not both. Are you still feeling like that's going to be, you're going to have to make that hard choice, or do you think?
I don't think we're going to have to make that hard choice, but it's hard for me to say that knowing we're 27,000 short.
Okay.
It's a very difficult, we're still, I'm before you a month before I said I'd come before you. So I'm cautiously optimistic that we will get there. I do know a number of typical donors that we receive. We don't usually see that until June. So as long as they're still there and we're reaching out to them, as long as they're still there in June, I think that we can get there or be a little bit shy and, beat the bushes a little bit more. Right now, I don't think we're going to have to make a difficult choice and that we will be able to have both things. That being said, that option of having to look at both things is still on the table until about June 15th, so.
Okay. I know we can.
Sorry,
do
it's a hard answer to.
No, that's okay.
yeah.
I asked a hard question, but
Yeah.
we need to have both. So, and I know we can do this, Plymouth, so.
That's right.
Let's
That's
do
right.
it.
When this community comes together, you see the best of this community, and this community is the best at coming together to get things that they want. And it's, what brought me back, after I left to go live in Virginia for a long time, is how wonderful this community is when they look to help each other. The best example comes from after the COVID year when I had a Facebook memory come up that I had reposted something about raising money because the governor, Baker at the time, had lifted the restrictions so we could do fireworks. And this community came together, and I think it was, I'd have to look at the number, but it was probably like $70,000 or $80,000 that we had to come up with in less than a month. And this community did it. Yeah, they did. Yeah, and this community did it. So we know that the community wants this and likes this, and I love seeing the community come together because then you can say, well, I helped. And that being said, if anyone wants to volunteers to help us line up the parade or stand, we're going to need some volunteers down even at the Cordage Park area this year because people for 4 years have been used to just pulling into Cordage Park, and they're going to be, 600 yards short. So we're going to need people to, send them down. So reach out to us. You can contact us through our website if you'd like to volunteer, and we'll take your name down and we will definitely call on you. So,
That's great. Thank you. Thank you all.
thank you.
Okay, next up is the Sagamore Bridge update.
Good evening. Thank you to the Plymouth Selectboard for having us here tonight. I can't say we're going to be as exciting as the 4th of July parade, but we think our project's
never
kind of
know.
exciting. And I'd like to introduce my colleagues on the Cape Cod Bridges project. I'm Louisa Paiwanski, the Executive Director of Mega Projects Delivery at Mass DOT, here with Jackie Goddard and Craig Cashman. As well, Jackie and Craig are with Mass DOT. David Anderson, James Barnack, Alex Sue are with HNTB, our prime consultant on the project, and I'd like to acknowledge Derek Brindisi for coordinating with me on being here tonight, as well as Joe Sullivan. And recognize my former MassDOT colleague. We worked together for some time, Bill Coyle. I didn't realize he was working here. Look forward to working with him soon. More on that in a minute. I'm going to be talking about the Cape Cod Bridges project because that's the project for which I and our team are responsible. I had an exchange this morning with Representative Badger to let her know I'd be here today, and she told me that Cedarville was very much on people's mind, Route 3A. I have a little bit about that. I will say it's not, I don't have involvement in it, so I don't have extensive detail, but I've learned a little bit about it today, and I have a suggestion for moving forward. All right, I'm going to start with what I know a little bit better is Cape Cod Bridges. I'm going to give you all a quick update on the environmental status, public involvement work that we're doing, including tonight's gathering, funding status, design, development, procurement. We are in the procurement phase right now. Our plans for traffic management during construction. Some recent work, if you've been around Sagamore recently, you may have seen some large cranes and other equipment. That is work that we're doing in advance of construction of the new Sagamore Bridge, very much related to the project. It's called Foundation Load Test. And then we'll talk about next steps. I'm going to deliver a portion of this. David is going to take it on sections 5 and 6, working with Alex and James. And then we're happy to answer any questions that you might have. Okay, we'll start with the environmental status. As you know more than we do about the resources, the natural resources in the area that are special and fragile and require a lot of care and attention. Our work has involved years of effort to identify the impacts to natural, cultural, historical resources of these two massive new bridges that we're building. And we have put them into environmental documents. On the state side, we have the MEPA document, the EIR, the Environmental Impact Report, and on the federal side, the NEPA document, the Environmental Impact Statement. So we have made a lot of progress in these two areas. We have recently received a certificate from the Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs certifying that we have completed the MEPA process. We're very pleased about that. It took a Herculean effort among our project team, both on the MassDOT and consultant side. We're over the finish line on that. We still have more work to do. The issuance of the certificate means that we can pursue some state level environmental permits that are remaining. Similarly, on the federal side, we are nearing completion of the NEPA process. We have submitted our final environmental impact statement and draft record of decision. We submitted that last month to the Federal Highway Administration. We are expecting comments from them next month. We have done coordinating with them for a year, so there are no surprises in the document. And we expect to complete the NEPA process with the issuance of a record of decision in late June of 2026, with it being issued, published in the Federal Register in July of this year. So slightly after the 4th of July parade, we might be celebrating ourselves in Boston with the issuance of the publication of a notice of availability, record of decision. Just as it is on the state side, the completion of the NEPA process doesn't mean we're completely done. We have federal permits that we need to receive too, and we can't process them until we have our FEIS, final environmental impact statement, completed. So it's all a cascade of activities on the environmental side as well as on the design side. These are some of the permits, just to give you an idea of the complexity and breadth of environmental permitting that we have to do. Everything from Mass Division of Fish and Wildlife to EPA, Coast Guard has to give us a permit. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, which owns the bridges, also has to give us a permit. So I won't go through the whole list, but as you can see, it's a lengthy and complex process. We are nearing the finish line on environmental permitting. Paired with all of that is required and not required. We do it because we think it's important, public involvement. Some of the environmental documents require public hearings or a public meeting of some sort. We have gone way beyond that. Here's a list of some of the public meetings that we've done since just January. We've been very busy. We had a recreation-focused open house. We've met with Nantucket Select Board, Bourne Select Board, tonight's Select Board meeting in Plymouth. We meet with an advisory group made up of elected officials, citizens, advocacy groups, and the like. The Cape and Islands Bridges Coalition, the Cape and Islands Municipal Leadership Group. We go just about whenever we're asked to talk about these bridges because we know how important they are to the region. Funding. Very common question we get is, do you have the money? We have the money for Sagamore. We are fully funded for Sagamore Bridge. We have over $1 billion in federal grants, the so-called BIP, Bridge Investment Program grant, as well as the federal MEGA grant. Total $1.36 billion. That's a major chunk of it, as it should be. These are federally owned bridges. There's $350 million coming from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and Governor Healy as an indication of how important these bridges are to the Commonwealth, not only from a transportation point of view, but also safety and security and economic well-being of the region and the state, has contributed over $700 million in state funding for these bridges. These all total what we need for Sagamore Bridge replacement. Bourne Bridge, we do not have funded yet. We have applied in a joint venture with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to the U.S. Department of Transportation, requesting about $1.2 billion to replace the Bourne Bridge. We would, if that came through, we would provide state matching funds, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers would provide about $250 million from their own budget. So we have not heard back yet from US DOT. We're already scanning the horizon for other federal grants for which the Bourne Bridge might be eligible. We think both bridges are incredibly important to the Commonwealth. So just because we have Sagamore funded doesn't mean we are giving up on Bourne's by any means. We're continuing to pursue both the environmental permitting and the design for Bourne Bridge because we want to get going as soon as Bourne Bridge is funded. Design, development, and procurement. The design is well underway. We have preliminary designs ready for both bridges, as I mentioned, or under review. Moving right along, these are preliminary designs, but they have an extraordinary amount of detail in them to the point where on the Sagamore side, we will be ready to hand it off to a contractor when we select one. I'll get into the procurement process in a minute, but there will be enough detail and enough information for the contractor to finish it up and get building. The Bourne Bridge, as I mentioned, is being designed concurrently I would say as a symbol of its importance to us, but also because we, under ideal funding conditions, would start construction about a year after Sagamore Bridge is constructed. Right now, we're not able to say that will happen just because we don't have funds lined up for Bourne yet. So the construction focus for the rest of this will be on Sagamore Bridge. So here we are. The procurement process has already begun. Procurement refers to a competitive process of selecting a design-build joint venture. We are not using the traditional design-bid-build approach because we think design-build is more efficient. It better reflects the complexity and opportunities provided by the Sagamore Bridge construction, as well as getting us access to those federal funds that I mentioned sooner. It's a three-step process. We've already started step one, and we're actually nearing the end of it. At the end of March, we issued a request for letters of interest, kind of opening the doors and telling people in the design and construction industry, not only in Massachusetts, but New England and nationwide, that we are getting ready to start construction of a new Sagamore Bridge. So who's interested? We have been receiving many, many letters of interest from contractors and designers. They are starting to talk with one another about forming teams. We had an industry day in April to provide more information about it. We had more than 99 firms represented that day, and we expect substantially more. So lots of interest regionally, locally, and nationwide in building the new Sagamore Bridge. That process closes out May 27th, so coming up soon. Then we will issue a request for qualifications. It's one thing to be interested in building a new Sagamore Bridge. Now in this phase, they have to prove it to us and show us that they have the qualifications, technical, engineering, financial capacity, track record. We're going to be pouring through those RFQ responses, which are due in early July. And then we will winnow down and shortlist from those responses which ones, from 3 to 5 joint ventures, which ones we will invite to submit formal proposals. That whole process of the RFP will take about a year, during which we will meet confidentially with potential teams or with teams who are bidders. We will invite them to issue what we're calling ATCs, alternative technical concepts. We have a basic approach to building the new Sagamore Bridge. We're challenging the bidders to show us a better way. And when we say better, we mean faster and for less money. We want to get existing Sagamore out of service as soon as we can to move traffic over into the new southbound barrel. Then we will demolish existing Sagamore and build the northbound barrel. So we think that contractors and designers have a wealth of knowledge. We have not cornered the market on fast, efficient construction at Mass DOT. We think others have great ideas too, especially those who are building them every day. So we're opening up the process to invite them to submit their ideas. Once we get through that process, we will invite them to submit price proposals, and it will be a best value selection, the best proposal with the best value, best price. There will be a public opening at which we will determine the winner of this process. Then we'll go through a fairly complicated contracting process. And in the late fall of 2027, we'll issue a notice to proceed, which means we're telling the contractor to start construction. So that's the process of procurement. It is complex, but we have teams of people within Mass DOT already assigned to shepherd this through the process. It is one of the top transportation priorities of Governor Healy and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, and therefore Secretary Eng and Administrator Sullivan. So Gulliver. So we are responding to the high priority that they have put on this project, and we're ready to go as soon as possible. Now I'm going to turn it over to David. I know traffic management is of keen interest to people living in the region, so we have some planning around that David will brief you on.
Thank you, Louisa. So first I wanted to talk about what some of our goals are when we thought about traffic management. And these were goals that were developed right at the very beginning and really shaped everything that we've done since, as far as bridge type selection, and much of our work was really shaped around these goals. And the first one is really important, which was to remove traffic from the existing Sagamore Bridge as early as possible. And why is that important? It's important because the bridges are 90 years old. The sooner they're out of service, the less likelihood there is that some maintenance action will be necessary that will cause the Army Corps of Engineers to take action and potentially take a lane in each direction, or even worse. Recently, we saw the Bourne Bridge was going through some maintenance activities. It has a profound effect on the region when that occurs. So the sooner we can take the bridge out of service, the less likely it is that that happens. So goal one was get that bridge out of service. The other one was to maintain the connections between the mainline roadways, so Route 6 and Route 3 and the local roadway network. I'll get into it in a moment, but that's really complicated to do, and is so important to what we're trying to accomplish, and is the thing that really, when we talk about how long does it take to build the bridge, and people will observe that, the existing bridges were built much quicker. The existing bridges, they weren't dealing with that aspect of trying to keep all those connections going and making sure that people could get from the regional connections to the local roadways. So that really presented a lot of challenges for us. But again, it was baked into everything we were doing right from the very beginning. We also want to maintain 2 lanes of traffic in each direction at all times. That's certainly something that once we get, and I'll get into it in a moment, but once we get traffic shifted over to the new bridge, that's easy. We're always concerned, though. We say we're going to keep 2 lanes of traffic open at all times, but again, if something does go wrong with the existing bridge, there's always that potential. So that's why we're trying to move as quickly as we can, both in terms of the project development process and the environmental permitting that we're doing right now, but in addition, just our approach to the construction. The other thing we also have to keep in mind is that this is a very active canal, so we're looking at ways to minimize impacts to navigation. So when we think about the bridge, some of you might have been participants in some of our early meetings when we were sharing with the public different bridge types and different ways that you could construct a bridge across the canal. And we settled on what you see here, which is twin network tied arches. So the reason they're twins is because when you look on the left, you can see that the bridge carrying traffic onto the Cape and the bridge carrying traffic off, they're both the same geometry. They both look very similar. They're twins. And when you look at the image on the right, when you see kind of an elevation, it's reminiscent of the existing bridges as well, just in their overall architecture. When we went through that process, this was hugely popular with the public. We actually did polls and people voted, and they overwhelmingly supported this bridge type. And again, one of the things that's great about it is the way that it facilitates the traffic management plan strategy. So this is a cross-section of what the actual bridge would look like. I'm noticing now it's not that easy to read some of those dimensions, but the key takeaway on the dimensions are that they're all consistent with state and federal standards. Obviously, the existing bridges are very narrow with 4 10-foot travel lanes and the curbs right there. So what we're proposing is the 2 lanes in each direction would be 12-foot through travel lanes. In addition, there's a 12-foot lane that's an entrance-exit lane. So that's the lane that allows vehicles that are on an on-ramp on one side of the canal to get up to speed and then weave into the through traffic, while other vehicles maybe want to go across the canal and take that first exit, they can weave over. So it's a real important safety measure to ensure that people can get on and off the bridges safely. In addition, we have the 10-foot shoulder on the right side and a 4-foot shoulder on the left side. And what that does, you know, I don't want to dwell too much on the existing bridges, but they are so narrow, you can imagine there's hardly any maintenance activities involving those big arches or the lighting or anything. You need to take a lane because there just simply isn't enough room. When these bridges are in place and complete, we'll have some room to move around so that there can be maintenance activities performed without really paralyzing the region. The other thing that's of value in this is that each one of those bridges is 54 feet from curb to curb, where the existing is 40 feet. So once we get one of those built, it's going to be bigger than the existing bridge that's there. And I should also mention, when you look all the way to the left, you can see a bike and ped pathway, a 14-foot wide bike and ped pathway across the bridge. And we're envisioning a lookout mid-span where it'll kind of bump out a little bit so people can take in the view. So this is how the strategy would work. So if you look at the very top, that's what the existing bridge would look like. So this is a cross-section. Envision like you're standing on Cape Cod looking towards the mainland, and you just kind of take a cross-section right through. That's the existing bridge all the way to the right, and that's what's happening today with 2 lanes in each direction. Kind of that second row down where it says Phase 1, all the traffic is operating just as it does today, and we're building the first bridge, the bridge that would be going onto the Cape. Once that bridge is complete, we can then move everybody over to that one new twin bridge. The thing I should mention, though, is that's not one of these things that happens overnight. You know, as I mentioned, that goal of maintaining the connections between the mainline traffic and the local roadways, things happen over time. You got to move ramps around and make connections, so we gradually get one move on and another move, and it takes a while to get everybody over to that new structure. But once they're there, things should be flowing much better than they do today. Just that there isn't that side friction of being so confined on the existing bridge. And then that would allow us to build the bridge that would carry traffic off the Cape. And then we, again, do that work at the interchanges to rearrange the connections and get everybody to the final place where they need to be. So the other thing that's great about this bridge type is, as I mentioned again at that first slide on the goals, there's the goal to minimize impacts to navigation. And what's great about this design is that main span can be fabricated off-site, so that simultaneous to the work that's going on at the approaches, building those piers and the approach spans off-site in a dry dock somewhere, that arch span can be fabricated. And then we're envisioning in a single weekend that could be floated into place and then lifted up. So the image you see there is Lake Champlain. That's a smaller bridge than the Sagamore Bridge, but that lift into place occurred in one day, and you can see there, they're midway through that process. It's been lifted off the barge, and it is on its way up into place. But again, I don't want you to think that it goes up in a weekend and everybody's driving on it. It doesn't work that way. There is that process of getting traffic onto the new bridge. So when we think about how all this would work, what that graph you see there is showing what travel times are envisioned to be during construction. So as things first start out, it's like the base condition, and then it's going to get a little bit worse. A lot of that will have to do with this is going to generate a lot of curiosity. That's all there is to it. It's very difficult to avoid that. There are going to be these temporary shifts of traffic and whatnot. So we are anticipating that you know, in the early portions of the construction, that travel times will be a little bit longer, but then they're going to start getting better as traffic moves onto that new bridge. And again, once everybody's on that new bridge, it's going to be working much better. And of course, once it's complete, we'll see travel times better than they are today. And thinking about what's happening during construction, we're in the process now of putting together the RFP that Louisa referred to, and in that we'll be alerting people that we're going to expect them to be monitoring the traffic through having count stations and understanding what where vehicles are and what the volumes are, cameras erected close to the site. And the idea is to be monitoring things constantly and understanding, you know, what are things that maybe are causing problems? What are things that are working well? Should we be doing things at different times of day to really figure out, you know, what the cause and effect is through monitoring, and providing the public with information on travel times. In addition, we're going to stipulate that the design build entity have on either side of the bridge tow trucks available, that in the event there are breakdowns, that we can have a real quick clearance. So next, I want to talk about foundation load tests. So these pictures were taken 2 weeks ago or last week. They're very recent pictures. So you might have noticed if you're over by the Christmas tree shop that we're driving piles at the moment. So this is work that we're doing. This is to really get an understanding of how our foundation elements are going to interact with the soil. So we've already done a bunch of borings out here. In fact, we've conducted 200 borings at the Sagamore crossing. But this is in addition to really understand what it's like to drive the piles, what production rates we're going to see, and once these piles are installed, to test them, and then share all of that information with proposers who are interested in bidding on the work. And what that does is, when someone's bidding a job like this, the risk is what's underground. That's always the riskiest thing. Once they come out of the ground, they have a lot more control over things. The extent to which we can provide them information to reduce that risk, they're going to submit a much more competitive price, because an unknown equals cost when a contractor is submitting a bid. So these are occurring at 4 locations. This one is by the Christmas tree shop. There's going to be another one over on, well, to stay on that side of the canal, on the Cape Cod side of the canal, down towards the water itself. Instead of driving piles, we're going to be installing drilled shafts. So picture a big, huge auger, 5 or 8 feet in diameter. We're doing 2 different sizes. It just works its way, augering down till it gets to bedrock, and then coring into that bedrock. Bedrock, and this is a very rough number, it's like 150 feet down. And then they construct a sample shaft, just like a shaft that is envisioned to support those main piers down by the canal, and those 2 were tested. And again, all this information is shared with the proposers. And then very similar work occurs on the other side of the canal with the drilled shafts down towards the water, and then driven piles a little bit further away. And if you're out there, you'll see that the contractor has already done his mobilization, kind of fenced off the area, graded things, mobilized equipment. So all of that's envisioned to be done, you know, probably late summer, but certainly in time for us to get the necessary information to the proposers. So I think you're next.
Thank you, David. Just wanted to let you know what is coming up next as we move toward construction, starting late next year. Foundation load test will continue at either end of the Sagamore. Borings will continue to take place. We've done them both on publicly owned properties such as the town of Bourne, Corps of Engineers, and our own MassDOT-owned property, as well as private properties. We've notified hundreds of Bourne residents of the possibility that would be on in their front and backyards, drilling very small holes to test the soil. This is all going into the design of the bridge. Continued survey and additional subsurface utility engineering. As David said, we manage risk and therefore cost and budget by looking at what's underneath the surface and find out what's going on in advance, so we're not surprised when the project goes into construction. We're continuing to advance the design and the design build procurement phase. As I mentioned, at the end of this month, May 27th is the deadline for phase 1, and we will launch right into phase 2, the RFQ process. So we're looking forward to that because we really want to understand the capabilities of the contractors. We expect it's going to be a pretty robust competition for this job. And we expect to complete the NEPA process. As I mentioned, we're already finished with the MEPA process and secure our environmental permit. So the project is moving along briskly. We like to say in our project team that we're on a mission. As David said, we want to get Sagamore out of service and traffic onto a new bridge as soon as we can. We look forward to working with the town of Bourne, which is the host community, but we know Plymouth is affected as well. We've talked with residents and elected officials in Sandwich and all over the Cape, but we also want to keep up the lines of communication with Plymouth too. We know you have concerns about traffic and traffic management as well as other projects you have going on. So this is our second visit to the town of Plymouth, and we expect that there will be many more in days ahead. So thank you very much for your time and attention tonight.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Mr. Canty?
Could you go back to slide 18, which is titled Traffic Management During Construction and has the different lanes of travel through the process? A little.
I can't see oh, wait.
A little
Travis,
farther ahead. A couple
Alex,
more.
I might need your help on this.
Two more now. That one. Okay. So when this slide was up, you were presenting, and you were talking about how it wouldn't happen all at once. But obviously the bridge is used daily, not just by cars, but also by school buses, by walkers, by bicycles. Will all of those be able to pass a bridge in any given day, whether it's part of New Bridge or part of Old Bridge?
Yeah, I mean, our expert is here. The work he's done is amazing, but all of the moves are taking place. It's just that some of them are on one bridge and some are on the other bridge. So there were periods of time where there's traffic on the new structure and traffic on the existing structure. So for instance, like that first move is just one lane on this big, huge new bridge. There's only going to be one lane on it. And it's because we only have the connections in place to get that one lane. So there'll be one lane on the new bridge and there'll be 4 on the existing bridge. And it's just, we have it mapped out. It takes a long time to go through it, but we do have it mapped out, like how these things work with the work going on one interchange, with the work going on the other interchange, and then getting people to move over. So all the moves are always accommodated. It's just that it takes like a year and a half maybe to get everybody fully over. There's that period where there's people on both the existing bridge and the new one.
So are you saying it's a year and a half between the second tier and the third tier in that?
Yeah, James, you can feel free to.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is a very high-level schematic of how the bridges would be constructed. We don't have every move sequence, but there's 11 phases that we have drawn out. And what Dave was mentioning, vehicles are on the existing bridge. We build the new eastbound bridge. The first move is the eastbound on-ramp from Scenic Highway onto the Cape. There would be one lane of traffic on the new eastbound bridge. The main line traffic is on the existing bridge. Then we move the eastbound traffic. So if you're approaching, you're getting onto the Cape, all that traffic would be on the new bridge. Leaving the Cape, the westbound would still be on existing, and we slowly, incrementally move traffic over. One of the reasons is we're doing work not only on the bridge, but also the interchanges. So we're reconstructing the Route 3 bridge over Scenic Highway, and then we're also establishing a new bridge, Cranberry Highway Extension will run underneath Route 6. Currently today, Cranberry Highway ends at Route 6. We'll have a punch through. And because of the elevation difference and keeping all traffic lanes open during construction, that is what causes, the time. So it's not only the time to construct the new bridges, but also the work that we're doing at the interchanges.
Okay, and so a car, a school bus, a walker, or a bicycle will have a bridge to pass at all times?
Correct.
Okay, or to cross at all times?
Correct.
And how long is the period between when they start moving from old bridge to new bridge and when everybody's on the one half of the new bridge?
So really, when notice to proceed in end of '27, really the contractor doesn't start, shovels in the ground probably till mid 2028. We're anticipating roughly around 2032, 2033, all vehicles will be on the new bridge.
But, so 2028, they're all on the new bridge?
No, 2028, it's construction, shovels in the ground.
Okay, when does the first car start driving on the new bridge?
2032,
And
approximately.
when is the last car going to be passing over the old bridge?
2033.
So there's like a 1 year.
1 year, 1.5 year.
Okay.
Can I just point something out? One of the things that we would like to point out is that the one of the two twin spans itself is wider than the entirety of the whole existing Sagamore
Yeah,
Bridge. So it'll be
I heard.
reasonably comfortable for all the traffic to shift over in 2033.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're aware of this, but obviously signage to indicate where to go will be of vital importance to the traffic management. I don't need to say it, but I kind of feel like I have to regardless, so.
And one other thing I wanted to mention is, we spent a lot of time, as James mentioned, this thing is very simplified. We spent a lot of time figuring out how this would actually work. But it is going to be a design build process, and there is going to be the procurement process that Louisa spoke of. And part of that procurement process is providing an opportunity for proposers to come up with a better idea. So we know this idea works. We communicate to proposers, we have an idea and we think it's going to work. But a proposer may have another idea, and it's up to Mass DOT to review those ideas, make sure that they're consistent with all the goals that were established. And I should say the RFP gets much more specific in what the requirements are as far as the contractor's obligation to keep traffic flowing and, when they can do various activities. So this is a way, we're hopeful that contractors are going to be innovative and come up with other ideas and be able to compress this, but we know that this is a way that will work.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, just wanted to touch on the traffic conditions that might exist during this period of time. That not about the on and coming on and off the Cape or approaching the canal, but really there's the Canal Side Highway taking you in east and westerly directions that get congested. And obviously during the summer months and construction, you're looking at that. I'm assuming you're looking at those scenarios, because what happens after that, there's a secondary event where people start turning on their GPS and seeing these roads that they could get off the Canal Side Highway and start moving through neighborhoods in the southern area. Obviously, those are areas that I'm assuming you're paying attention to those things. Can you speak to a little bit of that?
I do want to give Alex, as traffic engineer, a chance.
There's a lot of neighbors and people living on
Sure.
those roads.
Yeah. So what you see on the screen is obviously the bridges themselves, but as a part of our construction phasing, we've thought of all of the local roads and all of the interchanges, the ramps and all of that goes into the 11, 12 construction phases that James was talking about earlier. But one of the slides, we had noted that we are going to be doing continuous monitoring of the traffic patterns. We understand that there are lots of impacts when any incidents happen on the bridges today, when there's maintenance that goes on. And so David had mentioned earlier that we'll be having tow trucks on either side in order to keep 2 lanes of traffic open at all times. So if there's an incident that happens in the narrow, existing bridges, that we can clear those as quickly as possible, so that we know that when there are reductions in lanes, people do tend to get off the ramps and start traveling through the local neighborhoods, and that's what we want to avoid by having that. We're also planning to monitor and do counts at the ramps, not only on the interchanges that are within the project areas, but also north and south of the project area as well. So Herring Pond Road, as well as the one to the south on Route 6 as well. We'll be doing counts during construction on those ramps to make sure if we see any pattern changes or shifts, that we're able to address those and mitigate those as they happen.
Yeah. So, we can always look along Buttermilk Bay and Bourne Road and in Meganauset and Great Herring Pond. There's all sorts of areas in the southern location of Plymouth, coming into Plymouth from different pretty residential rural areas. And the roads are not really configured for large traffic. I've been on some of these roads when people figure it out with their GPS and they appear trying to get around the situation that's developing at the canal. So it's something to be aware of. The other thing that we need to coordinate, and I'm sure you're doing this, and that is with our local Department of Public Works, because we are obviously in a series of discussions at Cedarville, down in the village of Cedarville. There's a series of rotaries, so they're under consideration at different points in time. So that might be adding to the issues that might come backing up from the canal in this location, because we do see it on a normal day, on a summer day, people trying to get off the highway to get around that traffic. So I think that would probably, for Plymouth southern area, that would be a kind of epicenter of that traffic concern that I have.
Right. We have talked with the town and to Bill about the timing of it, as well as our own project manager, to make sure we understood what was happening. We think as we're starting the phases where traffic is shifting over to the new bridge, that will start to provide some relief, just because of the better capacity of the existing bridge. And we acknowledge that in the beginning of construction, traffic will be heavier. On the Cedarville project, the Route 3A project, we understand that the town is a partner in this and is performing design activities. So what I suggested to Bill is that we facilitate a meeting, our group facilitate a meeting between the town, Bill and his team, and our project manager, as well as the town's consultant, to make sure we're all on the same page on timing. I understand that funding is an issue, but there's no reason we can't make sure that the schedules are coordinated to the extent possible.
I do think it's important that you coordinate that with our Department of Public Works. I'm glad that you know Bill from working with him with DOT.
Former colleague.
So there we go. We got even more connectivity. The other thing that I wanted to touch on, you said the designing process is coming to an end, and then they'll go to RFP May 27th. What date is that? The final design will be understood to be?
The final design will be completed by the joint venture that we select. The preliminary design is a little bit of a misnomer. It's a little misleading. That's why I was saying it had
Okay.
plenty of information for the contractor to
Right.
finish it up and get into construction. So we expect that May 27th is the deadline for the letters of interest. Then we go right into RFQ and ask them to show that they're capable of doing the job.
Okay. But this design, the final actual design is still being
It will
discussed.
occur within that post notice to proceed phase.
I remain interested in the design. I've attended a number of the meetings over the last couple of years and with the Army Corps of Engineers and in the presentations that you've done. You've done an excellent job reaching out to the neighboring communities around the canal. So that is important in the design. Many people know I hate to see something thrown in a dumpster. The bridge is iconic. It's kind of like a symbol of southeastern Mass. So I know I can't save that, but there's an element to it. If you can go back, I think this is the one, maybe if you go back a few, there it is. Okay, go forward another.
That
Go
forward?
Yeah, they're perfect. So the other, last year I was out in California for my nephew's graduation from Santa Clara, and we took a trip over the Golden Gate Bridge. And we saw that they were replacing the little lamps along the road. As you go over the bridge, there's lamps that hang down on the bridge, and they were reclaiming those and using those in the village on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge. I thought that was kind of interesting. They weren't throwing these little Art Deco streetlight lamps away. But I keep thinking that, you know, and I think I mentioned this to you at one point. I think I was at a meeting and I thought that it would be nice that on our bridge here in Plymouth, this Art Deco style of bridge, I think the Golden Gate's 1937. These are 31 and 33. Or 32 and 33,
35.
is that correct?
Yep, 33 and 35, yeah.
Yep. So they come from the same era, and they have the very similar little lamps. As you drive over the Cape Cod Canal, this bridge has very similar lamps that you see on the Golden Gate Bridge. I know you're going through the design process, but it would be nice to reclaim those lamps and maybe repurpose them on the new bridge in some capacity, even at the overlook site where people stop and look out and have that view. It would be nice. I'm only suggesting it as an idea as you enter into that phase, because I'm really into, trying to bring the old and the new together.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. There is a requirement because of the historic nature of the bridge that the Army Corps will be looking for anybody. Does anybody want to take the entire thing? Unlikely, we recognize, but regardless.
You might have room at the water barn. I have to check with
Too
Derek.
big for our team. But regardless, we do think there are elements of the existing bridge that could be recycled, including granite blocks and the like. And an extraordinary amount of effort has gone into the bridge architecture. Can I go back a little?
Yeah.
Isn't she a beauty, the new one on the right? As David said, there was very strong public support for that classic arch look, but as you can see, the piers are outside of the canal. As many of you know, the tragic case of the Francis Scott Key Bridge where a ship struck the piers, that
longer
cannot
a canal.
happen
Correct.
with this design. But the bridge architecture and the bridge lighting have been the subject of extensive work, and if you invite us back, we'll show you what we've got. I think the lighting is going to be beautiful on the new bridge, and would love to show you how it looks in the daytime, but also at night where it's sort of underlit under the arch.
Yeah, it's just interest of mine, seeing those lamps and how they repurpose them out in California.
We
and
share
how
that
you could
interest.
repurpose them on the bridge and the walking side of it, not obviously in the traffic side, because you're going to have to deal with modern lighting demands. But you do
Right.
seem to be investing in a biking, walking path on the side with a bump out. Maybe that might be a place for this, reclaimed lighting.
We would love to come back and talk about the bridge
Okay, all
architecture
right.
and lighting.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Mr. Bolden?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, folks, for being here tonight. So I think I heard it correctly, probably thinking like spring of 28 as the start of construction.
Right, so we expect to issue a notice to proceed at near the end of 2027. That will enable the contractor designer team to start spending. It won't be as visible as it will be in the spring. They'll be deploying, getting their equipment and personnel and setting up
Yeah.
the site. The really visible construction activities that will start off the project will be visible in the spring of '28.
Okay. 5 years is a very long time for people to live with a construction project. I know that's the nature of these things. It's a massive mega project that is a real engineering feat. So I note that. We're being told at the same time, though, that, we're, what, Bill, 8 years out probably from seeing traffic mitigation down in Cedarville. Yeah, so I'd love to see some way that we can take advantage of this situation and provide some relief for the folks in Cedarville who have been waiting a very long time as it is for some kind of traffic mitigation, and knowing that this will almost certainly cause additional traffic load in their area. I don't know who I need to speak with at Mass DOT to see if we can get ourselves moved up the list somehow. But it's certainly something that I'm very much interested in. And, I'd also add to that, if there's anything that we can do to invest more in the project, I'd be happy to explore that opportunity if we can create a quicker timeline for our traffic mitigation on our side.
Yeah, let me address two really important points that you made. One is the timeline. So the 5 years is what we anticipate getting the south or the eastbound barrel completed and starting to shift traffic over there. We would still have to demolish existing Sagamore, build the northbound one, but the improvement will be experienced by the drivers on a brand new bridge starting in 2033. The other point I wanted to make is that, or respond to, is the need for the town and the state to be very coordinated on this. We just had a chat with Bill before we entered the room about setting up that meeting and coordinating. I would say from your end, staying on top of the design, it sounds like you've got a good consultant with the design underway. So I would recommend keeping that moving forward because it's a good selling point as you're going to the MPO that you have, one, invested in it, and two, produced at least a preliminary design for the project. And as to the funding, I will relay that to the Director of Planning at Mass DOT, who coordinates the work with is this the Old Colony MPO?
Yep.
Yeah. We'll relay that. I know there's a lot of competition for funding with the project.
I appreciate you relaying that, and if it's amenable to the chair, I'd like to be involved in those meetings as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know this is a very complicated project, and it's not made easier by the fact that we have a competing project that we would love to get off the ground sooner rather than later. Tomorrow evening, we'll be holding a meeting in Cedarville to go over some of the initial designs. Is that right? Yeah, and I know that they're going to be very eager to hear about what we've learned in this meeting. So the timing couldn't have been more perfect. So we'll be able to share some of what you shared with us. But I'm just wondering, what are the headlines that we can feel comfortable delivering to the community tomorrow in terms of how we're going to try to coordinate the two projects to minimize the impact of especially the traffic impact in Cedarville?
Well, I would say first is that we're aware of the project. We're not just using tunnel vision on our own project and saying everybody else is on their own. We're aware of it, and as Alex and James and David mentioned, we are taking steps to intensively monitor traffic and respond to any traffic queuing or incidents on the bridge in the construction phase so that we can clear it quickly and ease some of the strain on local roads. Two, I would say that it is certainly not in our interest nor yours to have traffic moving off of major regional roadways and trying to fight their way through local neighborhood streets. So part of our planning and traffic management efforts are aimed at keeping heavy regional traffic where it belongs. You can also say that we are committed to continuing to working with the town on both projects. And in fact, we're going to set up a meeting with Bill and elected officials to coordinate on those. Also, that we acknowledge that the initial phase of construction of Sagamore will have traffic impacts. We will monitor, do our best, but we won't say that it is going to be unnoticeable. And finally, that as you move forward with your project, we will continue to work with our district colleagues and our project management colleagues to track the funding status of it.
Okay.
You have your own contacts within Mass DOT, but because we're going to be, I think, swinging back through the area as often as you'll have us, we'll continue to track and monitor as well, and we'll pass along any information that we get about it.
That's very helpful. You also mentioned that there'll be a design public hearing in July, this July?
Yes, July, potentially August. We haven't set the date for
Okay.
it, but we do
This
expect to have
summer.
a design public hearing this summer.
Okay. And will that be, and what will you be presenting a more detailed look at the design than what we were able to see here? Is that the
Yes,
idea?
as we are completing the federal environmental phase, we'll have a preliminary design to talk publicly about in more detail. So it will just be on Sagamore, but we'll also note that Bourne Bridge is proceeding along as well, and we'll be soliciting public comment on the design.
Okay, that's great. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Additional questions? Mr. Golden, did you? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks
This
for having us.
This was
Thank
very
you.
helpful.
Good.
Okay, moving on to our last agenda item. We're discussing the structure and requirements of the Conservation Commission. This was a topic that emerged from our discussion last week when we began talking about different ways we might want to think about enhancing the work that the Conservation Commission has been able to do. And I think that a couple of the things that we talked about were moving a little bit more quickly to fill the recently vacated position. I know that there are 3 commission members who are up for reappointment in June. So, we'll be hearing those at that time. But we do have that one empty vacant position that we've been asked to fill sooner rather than later. So that was one thing we wanted to discuss. There was also the idea of requiring MACC certification training for anyone interested in serving on that commission. And then the third that I had in my notes was considering having an alternate position for the Conservation Commission. They currently don't have that. So I in my notes, that's what I had as the three items that we wanted to discuss in more detail tonight and then take a vote on that. Did I get that right? Mr. Golden?
Yeah, I think you did summarize our conversation from last week. Can I start with a question? So I'd like to understand, so I think the makeup of the commission is established in the charter. And it's a simple phrase, the select board shall appoint a conservation commission of 7 members for 3-year overlapping terms. I know that a number of years ago when the board decided to add an alternate to the Board of Health, they amended the charter. Is that what we would think we would do in this case if we wanted to add?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Jade and Lauren had done some research on that, and to your point, Mr. Golden, if you look at the charter, the ZBA has language in there for alternate members, and so does the Board of Health, as you just pointed out. And so then looking at the statute, how a Conservation Commission is created, the statute's very clear, it only allows up to 7 members. So in this situation, our recommendation, I think, would only be to have to go back to the state legislature and amend the charter.
Thank you, Derek. Madam Chair, if it's all right, I'd like to start with some low-hanging fruit and make a motion that we submit an article to the fall town meeting to amend the charter to add an alternate member to the Conservation Commission.
Okay, Mr. Golden makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Quintel seconds. Questions?
So ZBA has 2 alternates.
That's correct.
Planning Board has 1 alternate.
That is correct.
So do we have historical data at all on how frequently we're seeing vacancies on the Conservation Commission? Because it may be worth not doing just 1 alternate, but 2 alternates if we're going to go through the trouble of amending the charter. might do it all at once. But I don't, obviously, this one has been talked about quite openly, but not all openings like that, vacancies like that are discussed like that. So how often are we running into this concern? And do we think it would be worthwhile to have 2 alternates versus 1 alternate?
If I could, I would just add, I think going 2, because you don't always have to appoint both, right? You could appoint just one. I mean, I would defer to Jade on the historical data, but I don't know if we have that with us this evening.
Mr. Golden?
Yeah, I mean, to Kevin's point, when I served as the chair of the last charter review committee, we had 2 alternates. We as internally designated them as the first alternate and the second alternate, which allowed us to have those folks swing in when there were as voting members when voting members were absent. I would be happy to update my motion to make it 2 if Mr. Quintal will continue his second.
Sure.
So the motion is to add 2 alternates to the Conservation Commission, and made by Mr. Golden, second by Mr. Quintal. Any discussion? Oh, okay, I'll take the vote. Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Quintal,
Yes.
Mr. Canty,
Yes.
and Mr. Golden.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Great. Yeah, I think the issue with the Conservation Commission request for the 2 alternates was not only to, in case there were resignations before terms were completed, but also just to make sure that there was some continuity for decision-making in case there was members that were absent too. So I think two would be very helpful. That's great. Okay, so the other items that we were planning to discuss were filling that position sooner rather than later, the currently open position. Thoughts on how we make that happen, or if we want to make that happen?
Weren't we going to look into whether we could do that?
I think we learned last week that we could do that. Jade is nodding her head.
Okay.
I think it could be put on the agenda as soon as next week. I heard from some folks over the during the course of last week that there was still interest in their applying, and that they understood the application process to be open later. I think it ends next week, right? Okay. Yeah. So I think it would be reasonable for it to be on next week's agenda,
Okay.
given that it aligns with the deadline we originally set.
Okay. Do we need to take a motion for that or vote on that, or?
It's your agenda, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Unless
right.
there's an opposition, I would suggest
Well,
you
no,
are free to do it.
I think that makes sense. We should put it on the agenda for next week. I think it had been on a prior agenda and we took it off to give it a little bit more time for discussion, but unless my colleagues have any objection to that, put it on the agenda for next week to get that position filled.
This is the current vacancy on the
Yes, the
Conservation
current
Commission.
vacancy.
Yes, I think
Yep.
time is of the essence
Yep.
on that. We talked about it last week.
Okay, let's do that. And then the third item that we wanted to discuss was requiring MACC training. Jade had included in our packets some screenshots of the scope of that training. It's pretty intensive, but I think the idea is that it would, people could take a year to complete that training, and it would give them a certification as Massachusetts Conservation Commissioners. Mr. Golden?
I'm generally not in favor of this idea. When I was on the Board of Health, there was a discussion among our board members about whether or not we wanted to include the certification from MAHB for Board of Health members. Ultimately, we made a recommendation to not move that forward. I think that creating another barrier to someone volunteering for the town in an unpaid role is unfair to folks. I think that people come to these boards, committees, and commissions with an established set of skills that allow them to contribute in a way that's significant. requiring something on top of that, I mean, it will necessarily cut some people out of the process. And I think that when you when you're putting, I didn't add up the unit hours, but you know, when we were talking about it for MAHB, it was like a 40-hour course, and I imagine this is similar to that. I just think that it doesn't work for people who are working, who want to volunteer in the evening, and then to say, well, in addition to you giving free time to the town, you also have to get this certification. So I'm not in favor of it. I would, however, be interested because I think when Mr. Morrison came last week, he said that he was speaking on behalf of himself, not on behalf of the commission. I would be interested to hear the commission have a discussion about this and then report back their recommendations to us. I'd be open to it, although like I said, in general, I'm opposed to putting another barrier to volunteerism. Thank you.
Other questions, discussion, Mr. Cohen?
I think that the Conservation Commission is truly unique. It is each evening they're ruling on decisions that are affecting our wetlands, our vernal pools. We often talk about how the town of Plymouth sits on a sole source water aquifer, so we have to be very careful in its protection. So I think that people that are working in this capacity on the Conservation Commission, we should be asking for their focus and their attention to their openness of taking this class. I think it should be encouraged. I think that I think we should make some effort to encourage the Conservation Commission and its members to take such a class. Because it's not, some committees and boards, there are many, we're asking people to tap their personal knowledge of a situation to add to the quality of the committee. But in this case, you're dealing with the Wetlands Protection Act. There's only a few versions of this that the town has to really adhere to. And the importance of the Wetland Protection Act, which is a mass general law that here in Plymouth that we're required to implement. We want to do it with the highest efficiency. I think it's something that we should definitely encourage board members to take. I think it's not a hurdle. I agree with my colleague with the reference that it's a hurdle to volunteerism, but we are asking people of something of a very important magnitude. And I don't want to create a hurdle, but I don't want to undermine the quality of work that this commission has to do because it is so vitally important for our town.
Well, what, if any, cost is associated with the training? Do we know? I didn't see reference to that, but some of the documents seem to have odd printing because they're from a website.
It was a challenge getting that information off the website. I don't know what the cost is, or if there is a cost.
So I remember when I was on the Advisory and Finance Committee, I went to an MMA conference for Finance Committee members that I paid for myself. I did not seek reimbursement. I'm unclear if I could have been reimbursed for it. It was a couple $100 to go to it. I think if we're going to make it a requirement and it does cost money, we should reimburse folks for doing it since they're not getting paid to do the work, and then they're going to have to pay to do the work. And I think having a sense of the frequency in which it's offered, so to know if doing it within a year for a working person is a reasonably achievable objective, as opposed to they have a 3-year term. So if you could extend it to like 18 months, still get the result, but give them more flexibility in achieving the certification. I think those may be ways to make it more accessible for folks so that we don't penalize, because it says it's provided several times a year and virtually at conferences, but I don't know and you have to you have to complete all 5 units, but I don't know how often each is put on, so those are just, and we'd have to also, I think, establish that failure to do it would be cause for removal in a policy, if we were to do it.
So say that again, the cause for removal? What did
Well,
you say?
because an appointing authority can remove, but they can only remove for cause. You can't just arbitrarily remove someone from a board or committee. So you would have to establish in the policy language that failure to complete the training within whatever time frame we establish would be cause for removal, if you want to have teeth to the objective.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Clark, I'm
Yes,
just looking
okay.
for cost.
Sorry. So I was, I was in the line of encouraging. It's offered numerous times. If there is a fee, we can cover that fee. I was an alternate on the planning board many years ago when there was a cost that was covered in an opportunity given to zoning board members to learn more about the process. I don't know. I don't know how far we want to go in terms of if we're going to give them 18 months to do it, and they decide not to do it for whatever reason during their reappointment, we can always see that they have not pursued this, the encouragement of the board. I mean, we do have recourse. I just, just trying to think about the effort of encouraging people to do it, rather than setting up a scenario where we're removing people because they didn't do it. So I'm a big advocate that I want the Conservation Commission members to do this. And there's things we can do to encourage and help with the cost. But I'd like to hear my other board members on their thought process on that effort that you outlined, Kevin.
Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with Mr. Cohan. I think encouraging folks to invest in their education is perfectly reasonable. I'm not in favor of removing folks. I will say that there is a cost associated with this. It's not immediately clear to me what that cost is. I do find that there's a scholarship available for 2 fundamental units for a value of $130. If you extrapolate that out to 8 courses, it's about $520. So it's a pretty big investment for someone who's trying to come and just provide their skills to the town for free. So I continue to advocate that we don't require this for members of the commission. Thank you.
I think that, they are a regulatory board with enforcement authority that then has to be defended in court sometimes. And so if we're going to have, I think that encouragement, you'd have some members that would comply, you'd have some that wouldn't. Then you'd have some members that know more about the process and the application of it, and some that know less because they didn't take the encouragement. And that may not be a beneficial result. That that having it be more uniform, obviously you can't force someone to take it, you could remove them if they don't, but having it be ideally more uniform by having it be a requirement if you're going to introduce it into the mix would be more consistent and able to be fairly applied. Provided, though, I would not want to require it if we're not going to pay for it, for them.
Does seem to be bodied out. I mean, if you quickly go online, you see it's $40. So it's not a daunting cost that the town could cover. So I'm just looking at the class. You were seeing something else online?
The one that Mr. Golden has indicates that it's 130 for 2 units.
2 people?
No, for 2 of the courses. So, and there's 5, there's 8. So, yeah, so that would be 5, yeah.
So there's 8 classes?
Yeah. So the certification requires 5 fundamentals and then 3 elective courses.
Okay. So I do think that we need to, if we're encouraging people to take this class, we've got to get a handle on what that cost is going to be and what the time consumption of that will be. I'm not sure if this is ready to be approved at this point. We have plenty of time to work towards fall town meeting. So just, do a deeper dive into what classes one has to take and how much that might cost. And then really include the commission. We heard from the chairman. I think we should hear from the rest of the board who have taken this class and what the cost that incurred, the time that was required. So I think that this is a good start of a conversation, but I think that on this subject matter, we need to get more information.
Yeah, I would agree that we do need some more information, and I do like the idea of getting some input from the commission. I wasn't aware of how intensive this course was until I popped onto their website earlier this week and did some research into it. And so I would be really curious about what the commission sees as the advantages of this program versus any others that might be out there, and also understand what other local conservation commissions are doing in order to provide education for their members. If there are other ways to accomplish the same thing, I think it would be interesting to look at those, relative to the certification process. So maybe we go back to the Conservation Commission and let them know that we've had this discussion and we'd like to get their input and thoughts on, what they're trying to achieve and what the best way is to achieve that. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Any more discussion on this? Okay, I'll take that as a no. We're ready for you, Mr. Brindisi, for the town manager's report.
Sorry, I got stuck in the hallway. Okay, so I have a number of items to update the board on. Let me start by saying that David Gould, our Director of Energy and the Environment, and Lauren Lynn, our Assistant Town Manager, they're working very feverishly on looking at the Zero Spooner property, trying to address some of the contamination that's on that site. And so they're going to be meeting with Mass Development this week to address any contamination. And the long-term goal, I think it's going to take some time, is to put that property back out to bid. As we know, we tried to put that out to bid multiple times and we failed thus far. So we want to clean up the site. This is the direction of the board this past spring. Clean up the site, hopefully get some grant money from Mass Development to clean up the site and then put it back out to bid. So we'll be working with a number of stakeholders on what that bid will look like in the future. So more to come on that. The Pinnacle Bog Restoration Project is now complete. There's just some small punch items that still need to be shored up. Overall, though, the Pinnacle Bog Restoration Project is over, other than repairing a gate that's still there. And then over at the library, I don't know if anybody realized, but last Thursday was the first Thursday that'll run us through the summer and then through the month of September. We have a farmer's market that is there every Thursday from 2 to 6 p.m. again in the library. And from what I was told, it was very well received on the first and opening night. Some DPW project updates. If you go down to the wharf, Town Wharf Way, you will see that they have installed the frames so that they can pour concrete sidewalks along the west side of Town Wharf Way, which runs in front of the old Shanty's building and the old Cabbie Shack. And so you'll see that sidewalk will run all the way up to Water Street. You'll also notice if you go down there, there are a number of islands that have been installed, and so those islands will allow for trees to be planted. So we're doing all that we can in that area, that very tight area, to increase pedestrian safety, but also try to create some opportunities for green space. Just as a reminder, the federal furnace is a 4-mile stretch, and so That will receive a mill and overlay. That's going to take a couple weeks. Jade is working on a press release right now so that we can inform the folks that live in that area, the folks that travel that area, that it's going to take about a couple weeks to do that mill and overlay project. So there will be some delays in that area, and certainly we'll have signboards placed as well. And then, again, we've talked a lot about rubber chip seal. The DPW director and his staff were here a couple weeks ago to talk about the roads that will receive rubber chip seal. So I want folks to be aware that what they will see, they call it shimming. This is the leveling process for roads that will receive the rubber chip seal. So once you see the shimming complete, you'll see a lot of areas look like large patches throughout the road. So that's just the first step in the rubber chip seal. So that'll take a couple weeks. So we have 30 roads that'll receive rubber chip seal, and it's going to look like this for the better part of 4 to 6 weeks. And then once that's complete, the contractor will come back and do the final rubber chip seal. So I know we get a lot of phone calls on that, but you'll see the contractor out there doing this patching, which is also known as shimming. And then you may notice on Water Street that we have completed the next step in the sewer project on Water Street. The road has been paved. We tried to do the best that we could to ensure that the road was put back together in time for Memorial Day, but more importantly, in time for the tourism season. We do still have a small 70-foot section that we're working with a contractor that will have to will be part of the final phase. But given the time of year that it is, we thought it was best to just hold off and do that final 70 feet, probably sometime in the fall, in advance of Thanksgiving. So we'll work with the contractor on the timing on that. So, but for now, the Water Street is complete until the fall. And then on the fire department, if you are in the area over at Pine Hills at the Village Green, from 12 noon to 6 p.m. this coming Sunday, the fire chief and his staff and the contractor consultant will be at the Village Green to talk about the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. So we've talked a lot about this. This will be the last community engagement process for this plan. And once complete, the fire chief will be in front of the select board to present a final product. The assistant town manager reported today that they've started working with their consultant on the small footprint housing project. So that started last week. That'll take us through the summer working with the consultant in preparation for a fall town meeting. And then, as we all know, we just completed the local election. The unofficial results are posted on the town website. We received approximately 8,800 votes. According to the town clerk, that's the highest local election that has been recorded. That represents approximately 16% of the registered voters here in town. And then something we've been talking about a lot lately is that 43% of those voters voted either early or by mail-in, and the other 57% voted on election day. So, to round numbers up, almost 50% of our voters vote before election day. And then I'd like one other item to just note before we get into Memorial Day activities. Right now, the open application period for boards and committees will end this coming Friday. So I want to repeat that because I know folks are listening at home. Those folks that are interested in applying for one of our vacancies in the boards and committees, you must apply by this coming Friday. So if you're a new applicant, Friday's the deadline. If you're an existing board or committee member and your term is set to expire on June 30th of this year, you also are required to apply by May 22nd. So don't think just because you're on the board and your term expires that you don't need to apply. You must apply by this Friday. And then as far as Memorial Day, there's a lot of activities that have been going on throughout the spectrum of the various departments to prepare for Memorial Day and the tourist season that's coming. So today, I know it was a hot day and folks definitely wanted to go to the beach, but we had our highway department at the Plymouth Beach today. They were doing final grading to prepare the parking lot for the summer months. And as we all know, last year was the first time we've installed jersey barriers down the center line of Plymouth Beach. That proved extremely useful, especially for public safety. So that all took place today in preparation for Memorial Day weekend. The White Horse Beach trailer has been placed on Taylor Ave. We're still waiting to get power to it, but we should have that up and running in the next couple of days. And then White Horse Beach parking enforcement, which this year will be taken over by our Recreation Division, will begin this Friday. So it's posted in the White Horse Beach Parking District area that enforcement takes place the Friday before Memorial Day, and so that is this coming Friday. Those folks that are interested in a beach sticker, we are open for business. That started yesterday. In-person sales take place over here at the Treasurer Collector's Office during town hall hours. And then those folks that don't want to come to town hall certainly can go online as well. And then our Memorial Day Parade will start this coming Monday at 9:30 a.m. That's when the parade begins. We will do, opening remarks at Memorial Hall. And then we will proceed down to Town Hall, and then we will stop again on the bridge, and then we'll take a final stop at the training green. And then if we do have inclement weather, and I don't think we will, but in case we do, all of the event will take place inside of Memorial Hall at 10:30. And then for those veterans who would like to partake in a free meal, you can go to the American Legion post on Federal Furnace Road after the ceremony is complete for a free lunch. Pending any questions, that's all I have.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes, at the green, in the Village Green in the Pine Hills.
Yes.
There'll be an opportunity to engage staff on the fire protection plan.
That's correct.
And that is on what day and what time again? I just missed
So
it.
that's going to take place this coming Sunday, so the day before Memorial Day, and that'll start at 12 noon and go to 6 p.m. at the Village Green at Pine Hills. And that is for the Community Wildfire Protection Plan.
Okay, great. And the application process is ending. If you want to serve on a committee, you have to have your application in by this Friday.
That is correct. By
Even if you're
noontime.
on a committee, is there any outreach to people who are on committees to let them know that they are up?
Yes,
Okay,
we emailed them the beginning of April, the beginning of May, and then I emailed them again today.
And is there any sense of how many of these committees do not have applicants? Do we have a full complement of people applying? Do we know how that application process is going based on these committees and how many resumes you have per committee?
I don't have a full summary,
Right.
but applications are coming in pretty consistently. I'd say most people who are on boards and committees and their terms are expiring have reapplied.
Okay.
And then we've gotten a lot of new interest as well.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure that the new interest is good and healthy, and just we're doing everything we possibly can on social media to let people know how they can serve the town. I have a little card that I give out with the code on it, telling people to go there. This is a big time of the year where we're appointing people to committee and boards, and if we can get them all in there at once and get them appointed at once, that might save us during the course of the year, this constant reappointing that happens. So I'm trying to think of ways to mitigate those events that if we have vacancies, that we try to fill them. And if there is no one applying for these jobs, that we just extend the application period and not take it up until we have somebody. So anything you can do to make that more efficient, that would be great. Thank you.
Questions for Mr. Brindisi? Okay, let's move on to Select Board discussion, new business. Mr. Canty.
So I have a few things. They're mostly things we've talked about in some form prior to the election, but since it is a new term, I'll bring it up under new business. So I had talked previously about wanting to have an executive to discuss the possibility of suing the federal government for the Department of Energy's failure to comply with federal legislation to provide a national civilian repository for nuclear waste to, in the short term, provide a revenue stream for to compensate us for storing that waste in the community, and in the medium to long term, to incentivize them to provide that facility that they are statutorily required to do so. And whether we want to explore that as an individual municipality or as part of a class action suit with similarly situated host communities, I think would be beneficial. So that's one. Circling back to the concept of these appointments, not for the annual appointment process, but for the recurring ones that Mr. Cohen was referencing, which a few months ago were significant time components of our agendas and our meetings. I think it would be beneficial to have, and we did discuss this amongst ourselves at one point, an extra meeting on a Thursday each month to conduct appointments and potentially informational presentations that sometimes we hear. If we're going to hear that, maybe we do that on the Thursday. And then potentially the idea of public hearings being on that date. Maybe not all of them could go on that, but exploring the idea of taking some of the quote-unquote less important, not the policy making and decision making of the board, but the sort of day-to-day stuff, and concentrating it on that to free up more time on our Tuesday meetings. Again, not for the annual appointment process, which I think is fine, but for the recurring vacancies that come up through the year. So I'd like to have a discussion about that in the near future. Then also related to appointments, this is an idea that I've talked about with some of my colleagues. I think it would be a benefit to review whether we want to do the interview process for every board and committee that we appoint, whether it would be more efficient to have staff vet for some technical related committees, not regulatory, not ones that require money or authorization for funding, but some of the other ones. Or whether we want to have a group, a committee that we form. I know we'd be forming another committee, but if they provided the vetting, that could remove some work off of our plate and allow us to focus on our higher hanging fruit, to reference a phrase that was referenced earlier. I think talking about that would be beneficial, and identifying, if we wanted to do that, which committees we would assign to that process and which we would retain. We could take the results of the vetting process and put them in admin notes, since we are the appointing authority ultimately, but we don't need to do all the interviews if we don't choose to. And then last, but certainly not least, I would like to talk in the near future about the future of the On the Road initiative that we began last year.
Okay, very good. Other new business, Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't think it necessarily needs to be a discussion item docketed yet, but I was contacted by a member of the public who has a child at the Manamet Youth Center. And the good news is that the youth center has started bringing the kids outside during the time that they spend in the program after school. The bad news is that there's no fence around the property, and it directly abuts a road. In fact, it abuts State Road and Bartlett, which are both heavily trafficked. So could staff explore the possibility of putting some fencing in to provide more safety for the kids?
Yeah, we're happy to, assume the board desires this, we're happy to check in with Ann Sluss, the rec director, to determine what's feasible.
Good. Thank you.
If there's something we can't do right away, we'd have to go to town meeting in the fall.
Okay. Thank you.
Other new business, Mr. Cohen.
I guess one of the things I'd like to bring up under new business is in Manamet on Brook Road, there is, and I probably should have pointed it out during your report, and I went on to see Click Fix, and I was trying to upload some photos, but there is some fencing at that park that has come down and is dangerous. It's hanging down. It's next to the basketball court on Brook Road. So if you enter the village of Manomet and you turn onto Brook Road, there's a little park back there on Brook Road, and there is some fencing, and I don't know what happened to the fencing, but the poles that hold it all up have fallen down, and if someone was to, fall into it, it looks pretty bad. I took some pictures and doing the C-click fix, but I just wanted to alert people because it looked like it wasn't just a pothole. It looked like something that was kind of dangerous to have in a playground. The other thing that I want to talk on the new business is that I don't know how we would approach this. Maybe we'd ask the finance department to come in, or procurement, or maybe someone from the building committee. But I think it's important to note, there's been some discussion about the Sims House and how that was paid for. And I think I need to, in the memory of all the people that worked so hard on that so diligently to keep that project on time and under budget, it's disturbing to see some reference to it wasn't handled correctly. And I think it's important to note that the Community Preservation Committee, when it makes recommendations to town hall, to town meeting to utilize the fund, their responsibilities end after that point in time. We were often reminded by the Finance Department and others that process ended after town meeting. We were a recommending body, and that any financial oversight of any construction of any project in the town of Plymouth is going through the procurement process. All records are kept in the procurement process. It also goes through the building committee. The building committee has to oversee all those activities associated with any expenditures of the town. And finally, the finance department keeps all records of that. So if there's anyone looking for any information about what money was allocated and how that money would be utilized, it would not be the CPC. It would be those sources. So I don't know if there's a need for some explanation from town staff on how that process works so that there isn't misinformation out there inaccurately depicting how those monies were utilized to make construction of that site. So I don't know how we want to approach that. Maybe it's something that we put on the agenda where we have staff come in and explain how monies are spent and how the staff handles that. The committees are not handling money.
Mr. Quintel.
Thank you. I'm going to scratch a few things off, Derek. Very good job. Water Street. DCR, and I know we just got an email on that. Can you send us some details on that, on the park? We got a 99-year agreement.
So what I can say right now is that, we've been talking to DCR, who going back to at least 2022, about acquiring the park on Water Street. So after many discussions, many commissioners at DCR, we were able to, with the support of the state delegation, in particular Senator Fernandez, we sent the state a proposed lease agreement. And so that's the first step in trying to negotiate some type of agreement. I don't expect the state to accept our proposal. I expect them to redline it, which then would cause us to negotiate what works and what doesn't work. Ultimately, if we get to a point where we have agreement on the lease, then that would then be submitted to the state legislature for final authorization, much like we would go to town meeting for authorization of a lease agreement. So, yeah, I would say we're definitely a long way away to get to submitting a proposed lease to the state legislature.
Okay, a long way.
I'd say a long way.
The second thing is the bathrooms here. There was some events, and forgive me for not remembering which ones. I understand the bathrooms are closed when town hall's open, but when we have events out there, people able to use it like on the weekends, and if we have farmers markets out here, or
Yeah, the restrooms should be open 7 days a week outside of town
they
hall.
should be?
Yeah, I'll follow up to make sure they are.
Yeah, because we heard that today at the VSB, I think.
That they were not. Usually they are open April 15th, but I'll follow up.
Could you just check it? And the last thing is, last night I went to the CBA meeting, and topic was, I believe, Costco for the gas stations. And they're not saying Costco yet because it's supposed to be a secret, but everybody knows that's what it is. But that being said, a lot of unprofessionalism there. Members yelling at each other in public, telling people to shut up and sit down. I don't want to get into the routine of the rules and regs or whatever you call it, misconduct. The bigger picture for me that's aggravating is there's a line, and it's in the zone, one of the zones, second zone maybe of the aquifer. And, you know, we appoint the ZBA like we do some of these other boards. And on the campaign trail, I don't know what anyone else heard, but I heard people can't afford to live here anymore. Everybody gets out there and they're gonna do business development this and business development that, when the very boards we have working for us are working against us. You want a line moved 10 feet, that's one member. Another member wants it moved 15 feet. Do they look at their materials before they go to the meeting? Half of these meetings wouldn't be as long as they are if people ask their questions of staff. That's why we have staff. Get their answers, and then come to this meeting or any other meeting. And let's move along. I mean, but, you know, somewhere, somehow, I didn't speak on purpose because we're not supposed to, by law, speak to the ZBA as we appoint them. That's what I've been told by town council. So I don't. But you know what? You have there's lawsuits from the gas station across the street. I don't know if it's Mobil or Exxon. What used to be Burke, but I think they sold out. But the point is, they're all worried about the zone for the aquifer when you got a gas station 50 feet across the street. You have another gas station going by Market Basket and a car wash. You have the what is it, the Amazon building there? And now Kingston's administrator sends them a note saying he's worried about the aquifer. Well, he wasn't worried about the road. He wasn't worried about any of the other things traffic that they put in with all those housing units. I mean, Kingston needs to keep in Kingston, you know? And so I think, you know, coming up, we want to talk about something. Let's talk about economic development at our level. An office of, I said it before and you picked right up on it, Office of Business Development. It's time we started in the right proper zones promoting some commercial growth for tax relief for the people in this community, the seniors. I mean, you have a site that's disrupted there. They've been mining, and the same ones that call it sand mining, so they're gonna stop that now, and they're gonna try to redevelop it and sell it. And they're still not happy. I was taken back by the whole meeting, the whole presentation. Why couldn't the members on that board say, you know what, you want to move this line 10 feet for the mechanicals? And that's really what it was about from what I took out of it. Then why not approve it based on moving that line when they come back to the 15th? Then they go in to say the board's going to change because there's one or two members, I don't know, look at that stuff ahead of time, that are going to be reappointed. So is Costco, say, or whatever the corporation name is right now, supposed to come back and start all over again? I mean, that's when I say, and I said it on the campaign trail, this community has a bad reputation for attracting business. It's a lot of hoops. I've done small projects, trust me, and the stuff of going back. Let's get it right. You talk about making a building permit easy access to this building. I mean, I'm frustrated with it, and I'll tell you, usually I'm the quiet guy when it comes to these appointments. I let everybody else ask all the questions, and they're usually pretty good, so no need me chiming in. But I'll tell you what, I'm bringing a list to the next ZBA appointments, because they're very important to this community and that development. And that's all I'm gonna say on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Quintal. Other new business, Mr. Golden?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm glad Mr. Cohan brought up the Symes House. I had planned to bring this up under old business, but I'll just continue from his launching pad. I got a lot of calls, a lot of emails, a lot of texts about my personal decision to endorse the sale of the Symes House, and I think people were more upset about the sales price as compared to the investment that the community made in the Symes House. I did send a your view letter into the Plymouth Independent to explain my personal position on the matter. But, you know, I think even Mr. Cirkey's public comment earlier expressed that frustration that we spent so much money on it and we're getting so little out of it. So I would agree with Mr. Cohan that we should have a presentation from the staff. I'd like to see a full audit of all CPC funds expended on the Symes House. And I don't know how possible this is, Derek, but if we could see all financial transactions related to the Symes House in the last 10 to 15 years, I don't know what that looks like. I'll let you and your team figure out if that's possible or how we could do that. But I think we need a full forensic audit on this to understand exactly how public monies were spent. I'd also like to see Mr. Zuccaroli come in. You know, he caused a bit of a heated discussion with his submission to the Your View, but I know he was heavily involved. I believe you co-chaired the Symes House Task Force alongside him. So I'd like to hear from him about that process and why he believes that the town made the right decision.
And Mr. Golden, the goal of this discussion would be to provide more transparency and context to the reason for the decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that right?
Yep.
I understand that correctly. Okay, that's great. Speaking of context, I have one thing that I would like to add to a future agenda. I know in the past meetings a couple of weeks ago, we've been talking about affordable housing and reaching our 10% goal, and how quickly we might want to do that. I think it would be great if we could have a conversation about that as a strategy and what that strategy would look like and what it means. Just so that if we start to execute on that strategy to reach that 10% as quickly as possible, the community won't be surprised. So I do think it's very important that we have that conversation because there'll be a number of projects that will be coming up. And we just want to make sure that people understand why we might be supporting some and not others. So I think that would be a good discussion to have in the near future. Or new business? Nope, old business?
Letters?
Letters, yep.
We did receive a letter here from Community Land Water Coalition talking about assigning the Chapter 61. I guess is back to staff is, assigning such a thing. What would the town be looking for such an assignment? Obviously, the assignment would be for the other party to purchase this option. Do they provide financials, how they plan to pay for such a thing? Or I guess a letter comes in like this asking for assignment. The question is how do we respond to that? And the letter seemed incomplete in terms of its financials. How would they financially do that? So I don't know what how the board wants to handle this letter, because after you read it, it doesn't really directly speak to how they would pay for such a thing, and how can we assign something not knowing how they would pay for it? And the question is there any other assignment responsibilities the town has to be aware of when venturing into such a consideration, not just for this 61, but for future 61s? Obviously, we have talked about assignment in the past, but with those entities, we had an understanding of how they were going to pay for such a thing. So it's just something that I'd ask staff to look at.
Mr. Cohen, that is something that we could take up in executive when we regroup on the Landers property discussion. Okay, we can. Yep. Yeah, no, absolutely, but we can have that conversation when we next meet on this in executive. Okay. Nope, okay. I just, before we close tonight, I just want to say a few words. First of all, to thank everyone again for your trust and putting me in this role. Last week, I made a request that we look at tonight's meeting as an opportunity to reset leave all our past challenges behind and move forward as a team. And I'm ready to do that, and I know my colleagues are all ready to do that too. So we've got a lot of work to do. We're facing some very big issues right now. We brought up a lot of them at this meeting tonight. Our budget is at the heart of it all. Mr. Quintel, you brought up affordability, we've got housing, commercial growth and development, environmental concerns, infrastructure, so many things that we will be discussing and talking about, making important decisions about. And they're going to just shape our community for years to come. So the good news is that between this board, our staff, town meeting members, elected and appointed officials, we do have the knowledge, experience, and commitment that we need to tackle all of these challenges thoughtfully and responsibly. I think people who know me know that I am a very optimistic person, but even I know that despite everything I've just said, we are not going to agree on everything, but that's not our job. I don't see that as our job. I don't see, reaching that kind of consensus on every issue is not what we're here for. Our job is to bring people together, to listen carefully, and make decisions that are in the best interest of the community as a whole. That I know that we can do, and we can do that well. So I just wanted to say thank you all again for giving me this opportunity, and I am super excited to see what we can bring to the community in the coming year. So thank you. Okay. Anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn? Let me say it. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Second.
Second. Okay, Mr. Quintel makes the motion, Mr. Golden seconds. Discussion. Okay. Mr. Cohan,
Yes.
Mr. Quintel,
Yes.
Mr. Canty,
Yes.
Mr. Golden.
Yes.
And myself, yes. We are adjourned.